back again. Settings. Advanced. Did I say something? Yeah. Yeah, baby! Wait, why did that not work before? Wait, why was it shut off?
Restarted. There's my overlay. Everything the way it should be. That's how you fix that. You're welcome.
Thanks, minion. Why did that all of a sudden get switched on? Yeah! Joler! Quick, easy, to the point. Thank you so much. Shout out to the minion 256 for saving me. I gave him a like. That's so weird. I don't know why it was doing that. Anyways, hello everybody. How are you guys? Wonderful? Okay? So-so? Good. Thank you for the hand pats. I'm pretty good today. I did a little bit of packing. I've decided to give myself... I'm not allowed to start rigging until I pack a box. That's my new... my new thing. Hi, Nyar! Hi, Nyarlin! But I'm finding out I have just so much junk. Like, what am I supposed to do with all this junk? Throw it out? My cat's sitting on my empty bookshelf now. Like, some of it is just covered in dust, and it's like... Pack it in a box and keep it there forever. Good idea. I'll put it all in a box, and then I'll just leave it here. And then my mom can have it, I guess. We have so much stuffed animals, or I have so many stuffed animals. I have this giant chest full of like old, really precious stuffed animals that like got me through like my whole childhood. And I don't want to get rid of them, but they're not like Squishmallow or like cute little like tiger plushies, or, you know, they're like old toys. I have a Gomamon like beanie plush, and he looks awful. He has lost both his eyes except for a very teeny weeny part of one eye that's still kind of like holding on. His mouth is gone. His eyes are gone, or his nose is gone. His fur is all matted. His like, you know, like old toys used to have like those fingernails. Like they're like felt, but they're like glued together felt, so it's like thick felt. All of that is like unglued together now. Oh, congrats, Peachy! So you can like separate all of his little claws. Honey, did I put your stuff? Did I put stuff on your bed? I'm sorry. But he's like so precious to me. He's so ugly. I love him. Honey, do you want me to move that stuff? Okay, let me move some of this stuff for my cute. I know, I put my junk there because I didn't know where to put it. And that was right next to it. Here, you can lay there, okay? You can lay there. There you go. Ta-da! Ow! My Achilles heel. I also got... Oh, where's my joke book? Oh, it's on the floor. I found this cute little bookmark that you, like, stick into the page. So I can use that for my dad jokes. rather than like some random piece of paper that I had on my desk. All right, guys, we gotta get started. Oh wait, where the heck is my? Uh-oh. I didn't prep. Or rather, I did, but my tabs all died. That page. Like what? 109? Yeah. Chapter 7. Okay, we gotta go fast, guys. I need to finish this. I need to finish 100 pages today, as fast as we can. Because I don't know if I don't know if I'm doing anything with Dun on his stream. He's supposed to start a stream in like an hour, and either I was gonna go join him or I was gonna do something afterwards, but he hasn't said anything for like 2 days, so I don't know what's up. I guess we'll see in an hour or whenever I'm done streaming. All right. Bruh. Exactly. So many Dun collabs, I know. It's because a lot of them aren't planned. He's just like, oh, I'm streaming. Do you want to join me? And I'm like, okay. And then I join him. Like, as he's streaming, he asks me. Did I miss the previous collab? Last collab was... Battle Box, right? Battle Block. That was the last time we collabed. Battle Block. Alright, well, let's see. Let us begin. We got 100 pages to go through today. We're on a deadline. Alright. Chapter 7. Oh, wait, what happened last time? I forgot to do the summary. So what happened last time? So the traveling cats arrived back home. Lots of... Everybody pretty much was mad at them. They were like, you abandoned us. You left us to starve. Look at how well fed you are. Like every single clan. Except, I think, River Clan, which was just mostly like, bruh. Why you back? I think that was all. And then... They have my title is the prophecy, which they got. The rest of their prophecy was that meet under the stars on the rock and the dying warrior will show you the way, or something like that. So they're waiting. All the leaders actually believed every single traveling cat and came together to the 4 trees, which has been torn down. There are no more 4 trees, and there's also no more great stone. It's been kind of like dug up and tossed aside. So they all went there, and then nothing happened, and then everybody stormed off. Black Star Shadow Clan is like, yeah, we're leaving. We're gonna go live in the 2-leg place where Blood Clan used to live, because we have some old Blood Clan members in our clan, and they're gonna show us the ropes. And then Firestar's like, no, we have to be together forever. That's why there's 4 in forever, because there's 4 of us. And then he was like, no. And then River Clan, Leopard Star, and Hawkfrost, who was mostly doing the talking because he's like that, he was like, no, why should we leave? Our territory is like literally fine. Nothing's going wrong. We have fish. We're healthy. We're good. We're totally fine. You guys can leave. And then they want everyone to leave because then Hawkfrost has a plan to take over all of their territory once they leave, which doesn't make too much sense because all of their territory is going to be gone. So, like, I don't know what he's on about. He's like, yeah, we're going to take their territory. Like, what territory? And Wind Clan is literally dying. They are going to die. They have no choice but to travel. But all muscle, no brain. But what? Oh, he wants to go. He's like, I will go with you, Firestar, with ThunderClan. If you go, we'll go. We also cannot, we want to go, but we also cannot go without you because we're gonna die if we don't have your help. And so Firestar was like, and then Tallstar was like, we should go now. And then he was like, no, I want to try and convince the other leaders to come with us because we have to be 4 clans forever. And then he was like, all right, we have no choice. Just know I'm disappointed and our clan is actively dying. So yeah. And then Firestar's like, okay. And then we have... Meanwhile, Leafpaw has been captured in some cat traps. I don't know where they are located right now. We just know that they're in a room. They're getting fed by construction workers. They have a rogue named Soot, I think. They have who's the... Sasha. Sasha's been there. Sasha is there. She's caught Mistyfoot, Cloudtail and Brightheart, and then a little posh kitty pet that I forget the name of. Leafpaw, Leafpaw, Leafpaw. Throwback. Yeah. Leafpaw. And so... They're just stuck there. I don't think they have a plan on how to get out yet. They just... Or the kitty pet's idea is to be really nice to them, and then eventually she could escape, probably. But that's all what they have. Usually just those chapters are Leafpaw chatting amongst the others, being sad, eating, you know. Is there a way to have the chat superpose on my screen? Like pop out? I think you can do a pop out chat. If you go to the settings, like on the bottom, chat settings, and then there's like pop out, probably. I'm not sure. But you can do it! But I want to read while playing Genshin. Nono is right. I am right. I am correct. Hi, 1K! Happy Genshining. Don't worry, there's probably not going to be too much chattering. There usually isn't during Warrior Cat streams. Usually people are just listening. So no worries. Thank you! I hope you're doing well too! Alright, it's been about a half an hour since we started-ish, so let us begin. For real. For real, for real. Chapter 7. Squirrelpaw curled up beside Shrewpaw and tried not to think about the warm moss-laden... Oh yeah, by the way, disclaimer, I always forget how to read for the first chapter. Sometimes it lasts longer, sometimes it goes away faster. But I always suck for the first little bit. Squirrelpaw curled up beside Shrewpaw and tried not to think about the warm, moss-lined den where the apprentices had slept before. At least the small gully they were lying in gave some shelter from the chilly night breeze. It felt strange to be sleeping apart from Brambleclaw after their long journey together, but at least Shrewpaw seemed happy to have her back. Her paws ached with tiredness, and she closed her eyes, folding her tail over her muzzle for comfort. At first, she couldn't stop thinking about the disastrous meeting at Four Trees, but gradually dreams wove into her waking thoughts and drew her into sleep. She was alone among the trees, and she could smell prey scent. A cold wind breathed through the forest. Squirrelpaw lifted her nose and tasted the air. A fat mouse was snuffling among the leaves. It was the plumpest piece of prey she had found since returning to the forest, and she swiped her tongue hungrily over her lips. Brambleclaw would be pleased to have a share of this fresh kill. Crouching, Squirrelpaw crept silently towards the unsuspecting creature. It had itself half buried under an oak leaf and hadn't noticed her. This was going to be an easy catch. Suddenly, rapid paw steps sounded behind her. Terrified, the mouse darted out from under the oak leaf and scuttled away beneath the roots of a tree. Squirrelpaw spun around, bristling with fury. A tortoise-shell cat with gentle amber eyes was standing behind her. "Hello, Squirrelpaw," she mewed. "I have something to show you." "You just ruined the best catch I'm likely to get all day," Squirrelpaw snapped back. She had never seen this cat before, though she carried the scent of ThunderClan. She stopped and put her head to one side. "Who are you, anyway?" "I'm Spotted Leaf." Squirrelpaw blinked. She had heard all about the long-dead Thunderclat medicine cat. Why would Spotted Leaf come to her? She stepped forward to touch the she-cat's nose in greeting, but as she went closer, the image faded. Bewildered, Squirrelpaw stared into the trees. She pricked her ears, listening for movement, but heard nothing, and turned to resume her hunt. The scent of prey hung in the air was too tempting. Perhaps Spotted Leaf had only wanted to greet her, nothing more. Squirrelpaw prowled deeper into the woods, following a path that led towards Snake Rocks. But as she crept out the undergrowth, the forest seemed to change, and she didn't recognize the trees around her. Surely she should have reached the Snake Rocks by now. Had she taken the wrong path? She quickened her pace until she was racing through the trees she had never seen before. A tiny voice in her mind reminded her that it was just a dream, and she wasn't really lost. She blinked, trying to wake up, but when she opened her eyes, she was still trapped in the strange woods, and her alarm grew until her heart pounded like a woodpecker's beak on bark. She ran on, hoping to find a landmark she recognized, but the forest grew darker and more silent, as if the trees themselves were watching her. There didn't seem to be anything else alive in these woods. No sound of prey, no scent of her clanmates, or any other clan. "Spotted Leaf!" she called. "Help me!" There was no reply. The trees grew more thickly here, and the shadows between the trunks swallowed her until she could hardly see where she was putting her paws. "Don't be frightened." The soft voice seemed to echo from every direction at once, and Squirrelpaw spun around, trying to find where it came from. There was a faint scent of ThunderClan, and then she saw Spotted Leaf's pale pelt glowing among the trees like a distant moon in a mottled sky. "I'm lost, Spotted Leaf!" "No, you're not," Spotted Leaf reassured her gently. "Follow me." Panting with relief, Squirrelpaw wound her way through the tree trunks. As she approached, the shadows seemed to draw away and the forest grew lighter, although there wasn't any moon that she could see. "Follow me," Spotted Leaf murmured. She turned and headed into the trees, running as confidently as if she were following an invisible path. Squirrelpaw pelted after her. Spotted Leaf ran like the wind, but Squirrelpaw raced over the ground until she felt as though she were swooping through the trees like a bird. Exhilaration flooded her so that she hardly noticed the forest become familiar once more. Then she recognized the great sycamore, reaching high into the sky. And here were the Snake Rocks, a tumbled heap of round, sandy boulders where snakes basked in green leaf, but which offered good prey in colder winter. Spotted Leaf leaped up on top of the rocks, then down to the other side, and on through the forest. Squirrelpaw scrambled after her quickly. On they went until Squirrelpaw detected the tang of the thunder path. Suddenly, without warning, Spotted Leaf stopped. Squirrelpaw skidded to a halt, nearly bumping into her, and followed the medicine cat's gaze. Ahead of them, every single tree had been stripped away, and the forest floor was churned into mud right to the edge of the thunder path. Wooden two-legged nests ringed the clearing, and Monster sat hunched and silent nearby. This way, Spotted Leaf mewed. She led Squirrel Paw across the slippery, rutted earth towards the nests. It's so quiet, Squirrel Paw whispered. Oddly, she felt soothed by the eerie quiet and followed Spotted Leaf over the ground without fear. Spotted Leaf stopped beside one of the wooden nests, and Squirrel Paw looked up in surprise. What is this place? She mewed. Why have you brought me here? Spotted Leaf twitched her gold and brown striped tail. Look through the hole, she urged. Look at the cages. Cages? The word sounded strange to Squirrel Paw's ears. She noticed a small gap in the wall, about a fox length up. She stretched her forepaws up to the side of the nest, her belly brushing the scratchy wood, and peered in. Rows of dens made of cold-looking shiny webs were stacked along the walls. These must be the cages, Squirrel Paw. Oh, these must be the cages. Squirrel Paw could see a dark, soft-edged shape huddled in each cage. Cats! Her heart raced as scents flooded her nose. River Clan, Wind Clan, Rogue. She stared breathlessly through the hole, and then she smelt the warm scent of ThunderClan. With a jolt of recognition, she saw her sister curled up in one of the cages near the roof of the wooden nest. Leaf Paw! She gasped. She clawed herself upward, thrusting with her hind legs, trying to clamber through the hole. You can't get in, Squirrel Paw. Spotted Leaf stood on her hind legs to reach up beside her. This is only a dream, she murmured. But when you wake, Leaf Paw will still be here. Will I be able to rescue her? I hope so, Spotted Leaf answered softly. But how? Squirrel Paw yowled, jumping down to the ground. Stop fidgeting for StarClan's sake, Shrew Paw muttered. Squirrel Paw's eyes shot open. She was lying in the narrow cleft in Sunning Rocks. The hollow was dark, and she could only just make out the soft shapes of sleeping cats around her. She sat up and stared over the lip of the gully. Outside, frost glittered on the smooth stone, and beyond that she saw the outlines of leafless trees, black and spiky against the sky. What's the matter? Shrew Paw asked sleepily. I know where Leaf Paw is, Squirrel Paw whispered. I have to go rescue her. Shrew Paw's eyes blinked open. How do you know? Spotted Leaf told me in a dream. Are you sure? Of course I'm sure, Squirrel Paw snapped. Shrew Paw twitched his ears. You can't just disappear without telling any cat where you're going, he warned. He didn't add again, but Squirrel Paw guessed that that's what he was thinking. I could wake Firestar up, she mewed. Now I know where Leaf Paw is. He could send out a rescue party. Not in the middle of the night, Shrew Paw pointed out. It's too cold. Besides, it was just a dream. It was more than a dream, Squirrel Paw insisted. But you're not a medicine cat, Shrew Paw argued. No cat's gonna go on a rescue mission in the middle of the night because you had a dream. His amber eyes were gentle. They might listen to you in the morning, though. Settle down and go back to sleep. Squirrel Paw sighed, but she knew he was right. She slumped back down again, still seeing the wooden nest filled with cages. Shrew Paw lay down beside her and rested his tail comfortingly on her flank. We'll find her in the morning, he promised, closing his eyes. His breath slowed as he drifted into sleep, but Squirrel Paw stayed awake. Gazing up at the narrow strip of silver pelt, she could see through the mouth of the gully. A cat from StarClan has visited her to tell her where Leaf Paw was. She knew Spotted Leaf had had a special bond with her father when he first came to the forest. Could it be that she wanted to help Firestar's daughter because she still loved him? Dang, Squirrel Paw just laid down the facts for a second. Never before have they said Spotted Leaf loved Firestar until just now. Usually they're like, oh yeah, she had a soft spot. She was warm. Like, they had a special bond. Oh my god. Spotted Leaf, you're dead. Squirrel Paw opened her eyes and sat up with a start. Bright lights streamed into the gully. Though the air was cold, colder still because all the other apprentices had left. Quickly, she stretched and scrambled out of the crevice. Her dream was still clear in her mind. She had to tell her father so he could organize a rescue party. I knew Cinderpelt loved Firestar. Yeah, I remember. I think actually she confesses to that at one point. To somebody. I can't remember who. Maybe Leafpaw at some point? I don't know. Okay. Also, this has been bugging me, but Nyarlin, you redeemed a hydrate, and I saw it, and then I was reading, and now I drank. Okay, I drank, so don't worry. It was bugging me this whole time. Why is there some conception that only medicine cats can get dreams? I think medicine cats have the special bond with StarClan. Like, you have to have been able to go to the Moonstones and have that, like, chosen thing with StarClan before that you could have, like, actual StarClan dreams, like prophecy dreams. But Firestar always got them. And I think Bluestar just always trusted him because he was in the prophecy. Or she believed that he was the prophecy, which he was. But she trusted him based off of that. And I guess it also would have added to it too, right? Like if she... I lost my train of thought. Hi, Cordy! If she thought that he was special and then he was getting all these StarClan dreams, then it kind of reinforced her theory he was special. Anyways, okay, let's go. Quickly, she stretched and scrambled out of the crevice. Her dream was still clear in her mind. She had to tell her father so he could organize a rescue party. Shrupa was washing on the stone slope in front of the den. "Where's Firestar?" Squirrelpaw demanded. "He's out patrolling with Greystripe," Shrupa replied, rubbing his cheek with his paw. She twitched her tail in frustration. "Why didn't you wake me?" "You didn't sleep well, remember?" meowed Shrupa. "I thought you could get some extra rest and join me on a later patrol." Firestar agreed. "Didn't you tell him about my dream?" Squirrelpaw pricked her ears. Oh, yeah. "What did he say? When is he sending out a patrol?" "I didn't mention the dream," Shrupa stammered. "I thought you would have forgotten it. It was only a dream after all." Squirrelpaw glared at Shrupa. "It was a message from StarClan!" "I'm really sorry." He shuffled his paws and stared at the ground. Squirrelpaw let her fur lie flat again. "No, I'm sorry," she sighed. "It's not your fault I overslept." "It's okay," Shrupa shrugged. "Did you really see Leafpaw in your dreams?" Squirrelpaw nodded. "And the other cats that are missing from the forest. Or at least, I definitely smelled WindClan and RiverClan scents." "That's amazing." He glanced past her and twitched his whiskers. "Looks like there's been some successful hunting already today. That should put Firestar in a good mood, at least." Squirrelpaw turned to see Brambleclaw patting up the slope with a vole in his jaw. He carried it over to where Ferncloud lay in the sunshine watching her kits play. She accepted Brambleclaw's offering with only a blink of her leaf-colored eyes, as if she didn't have the strength to thank him. Squirrelpaw even noticed a prick of unease how small Ferncloud's kits were. They hardly looked old enough to leave the nursery, let alone journey all the way to the sun-drowned place. By Leaf Bear, kits were usually strong and healthy, ready to face the cruelest season. If Squirrelpaw and Brambleclaw succeeded in persuading the clan to leave the forest, how many cats would never see their new home? She shook her head. Right now, she didn't want to go anywhere without rescuing Leafpaw. "Brambleclaw!" She bounded down the slope towards him. "I know where Leafpaw is! StarClan came to me in a dream. The Two Legs have her trapped in a little nest, past Snake Rocks. We have to go and rescue her." Brambleclaw pricked his ears. "Really?" He scanned Sunning Rocks. "Have you told Firestar? Is he organizing a rescue party?" Squirrelpaw shook her head. "He's on a patrol, but if you come with me, we could rescue her together." Brambleclaw blinked. "Are you mad? Rescue her from a two-leg nest? We wouldn't stand a chance on our own." Squirrelpaw's paws pricked with frustration. But StarClan must want us to rescue her now, she argued. Why else would Spotted Leaf come before? Why hasn't Spotted Leaf come before? Leafpaw must be in more danger than ever. Let's wait until Firestar gets back. He'll know what to do. Squirrelpaw couldn't believe her ears. Does that mean you won't help me? It means I won't let you go on such a dangerous mission, Brambleclaw snapped. Squirrelpaw wanted to rake his ears in frustration. You're afraid! Brambleclaw bristled. What if we tried to rescue Leafpaw and got caught ourselves? He pointed out. Who else knows the way through the mountains? Who would leave ThunderClan to their new home? You weren't like this when we were traveling. You agreed to go back and rescue Stormfur. Frustration flashed in his eyes. Yes, and look what happened to Feathertail when we did. But this is my sister! Squirrelpaw thrashed her tail. Why don't you understand? Brambleclaw blinked. I'm only asking you to wait until Firestar gets back. But you won't help me now! Squirrelpaw couldn't keep the desperation out of her voice. Brambleclaw's gaze softened. Let's wait till Firestar returns. He'll send out a patrol. We'd need more warriors. Squirrelpaw couldn't bear to listen anymore. I didn't think that you of all cats would let me down, she spat, stalking away into the trees. As she reached the undergrowth, the sound of rushing paw steps made her stop and look around. She hoped it was Brambleclaw coming after her to tell her he had changed his mind, but it was Sorreltail. I heard what you were saying, she panted. If StarClan has told you where Leafpaw is, they must want us to rescue her as soon as possible. That's what I thought, Squirrelpaw growled, but Brambleclaw won't help me. I will, Sorreltail offered. Grief shadowed her face. I couldn't stop the two legs from taking Leafpaw, but I'd do anything to help her now. Do you mean it? Squirrelpaw tried to ignore the twinge of jealousy that pricked her belly. Why shouldn't Leafpaw have made friends with another cat while she was away? Of course! Come on, then, she yowled. Let's go! She pelted into the forest, wanting to get away before any of the senior warriors spotted her and ordered her to join a hunting patrol, or even worse, overheard them and told Firestar what she was planning. She heard Sorreltail pounding after her. The two cats raced past the ravine without even looking down at the abandoned camp and headed for the great sycamore. The monsters were still there, chewing up more and more of the forest. If they weren't careful, they'd tumble right into the ravine and smash themselves to bits on high stones, Squirrelpaw thought hopefully. Keep low, she warned, as the roaring grew louder, but Sorreltail was already ducking down to follow her through the dying bracken. Think Silverpelt, they left us some trees to hide in, she hissed. They scrambled over snake rocks. Squirrelpaw was determined to follow the exact trail Spotted Leaf had shown her in her dream, but she hoped that the weak sun had tempted any snakes out to bask. Safely over the rocks, they headed down into the trees towards the thunder path. The hateful stench of the two-legged monsters stung her nose a heartbeat before she heard them roaring up ahead. By the time she reached the edge of the muddy clearing, she was breathing hard, her paws trembling. Fear gripped her from ear tips to tail. Sorreltail skidded to a halt beside her and peered out from under a thick bramble bush. What are we going to do now? I'm not sure, Squirrelpaw admitted. The clearing was busy with two legs shouting and monsters churning up the ground as they prowled back and forth. It looked nothing like her dream, even though she was sure they had come to the right place. There were no trace of the stillness and the silence she had padded confidently through with Spotted Leaf, but the noise and activity made her paws prick with determination. StarClan had brought her here knowing full well how dangerous it would be. They must have faith in her. Leafpaw's over there, she gestured with her tail to the wooden nest Spotted Leaf had led her to. There was a monster crouched outside the door, grumbling quietly to itself. It was much smaller than the tree-munching monsters, and its round black paws seemed half sunk in the mud. Look, Squirrelpaw hissed suddenly. They left the door open. She froze as a two-leg emerged from the nest, carrying a cage. Inside crouched a mangy tabby, its eyes wide with terror. The two-leg pushed it into the belly of the waiting monster, then went back inside the wooden nest and came out with another cage. Squirrelpaw stared in horror at the bundle of fur hunched inside the cage. Leafpaw! Without stopping to think, she dashed out of the trees. Leafpaw must have spotted her, because as the two-leg pushed her cage into the monster's belly, she yowled, "Squirrelpaw, get out of here!" Her shriek startled the two-leg, and it turned around sharply, spotting Squirrelpaw at once. With eyes sparkling in triumph, it put down Leafpaw's cage and ran towards her. Squirrelpaw scrambled to a halt, her paws slipping as she tried to bolt back to the safety of the trees. The two-leg chased her with its forepaws outstretched, its long legs gaining on her as she fought to get a claw hold on the slimy mud. "StarClan, help me!" Just when her heart was about to burst with fear, Sorreltail exploded from the bushes with a vicious snarl. She rushed at the two-leg, raking her claws across its grasping paws until it howled in pain. Then she grasped Squirrelpaw's scruff in her teeth and hauled her towards the trees. Squirrelpaw found her footing with a gasp, and Sorreltail released her. Together the two cats sped into the woods. When they reached the safety of the brambles, Squirrelpaw skidded to a standstill. "Keep running!" Sorreltail hissed. "They won't give up that easily." She nudged Squirrelpaw hard, pushing her further into the clump of brambles. Squirrelpaw stumbled on the thorns. "What about Leafpaw?" "Do you want to join her?" Sorreltail spat. "Keep running!" Too terrified to think straight, Squirrelpaw obeyed and raced after the warriors in the trees. Only when they had run all the way to Snake Rocks did Sorreltail slow down, her flanks heaving. Squirrelpaw stood beside her, too shocked to speak. "What in StarClan's name is going on?" Graystripe's deep meow echoed off the rocks as he emerged from the break-in with Thornclaw and Rainwhisker close behind him. The ThunderClan deputy stared at the two trembling cats. "What's wrong with you? You look like you've seen Tigerstar's ghost." "It's Leafpaw!" Squirrelpaw cried. "We found her, but the two-legs are putting her inside a monster's belly. They're going to take her away. I know they are." Graystripe narrowed his eyes and opened his mouth to speak, then stopped and glanced at the bushes behind him. "Brambleclaw?" he called. "Is that you?" "Yes." The branches quivered, and Brambleclaw stepped out. "I'm looking for Squirrelpaw." He blinked when he spotted her standing beside Sorreltail. "Are you okay?" "I found Leafpaw!" Squirrelpaw hissed. "The two-leg are going to take her away. We have to rescue her now, or I'll never find her again." Graystripe glanced at Brambleclaw, then at Rainwhisker and Thornclaw. The ThunderClan warriors stood with their chins raised high and flexed their powerful shoulders. "We can't let Two-Leg take our cats if there's anything we can do to stop them," growled Rainwhisker. "We shouldn't give up without a fight," Thornclaw agreed. Their meaning was clear. This was still their forest. They may not have been able to protect it against all the two-legs and their monsters, but this was one battle they could take on. Graystripe narrowed his amber eyes at Squirrelpaw. "Very well," he meowed. "Show us where she is." "This way," she panted. She leaped back over Snake Rocks, Sorreltail close behind her. Graystripe, Thornclaw, Rainwhisker, and Brambleclaw followed. Hearing their footsteps, Squirrelpaw felt a surge of confidence. With 5 ThunderClan warriors at her side, she must be able to rescue her sister. When they reached the bramble thicket at the edge of the trees, Graystripe hissed for the cats to stop. "Stay low," he commanded. To Squirrelpaw's relief, the small monster was still waiting outside the wooden nest, and the two-leg was carrying out more cages to stow in its belly. "Leafpaw's already inside," she whispered. "Right," muttered Graystripe. "Thornclaw, you and I will attack the two-leg. We've got to keep 'em distracted while Sorreltail, Brambleclaw, and Rainwhisker let the other cats out." "What about me?" Squirrelpaw asked. "You stay here as lookout," Graystripe ordered curtly. "Tell us if more two-leg come." Squirrelpaw stared at him in shock. "But—" she began, but Graystripe ignored her. "Most of them must be in the monster by now," he went on. "Brambleclaw and Sorreltail, I want you to climb inside and start getting the cats out. Rainwhisker, you go into the nest and help any cats that are left." Squirrelpaw glared at Graystripe. "I'm getting my sister out of that monster!" The Grey Deputy stared back at her for a long moment, and Squirrelpaw felt as if she'd forgotten how to breathe. "Very well," Graystripe agreed at last. "But if anything goes wrong, get back into the trees as fast as you can." Squirrelpaw nodded. When she glanced at Brambleclaw, her eyes were shadowed with worry. "I face greater danger than this on the journey to the sun-drawn place," she wanted to tell him. "Stop treating me like a kit." "Right," Graystripe meowed, turning back to watch the monster. "The two-leg is gonna fetch another. We'll be ready to take it by surprise when it comes out." He dashed from the trees, keeping low as he raced over the mud. Thornclaw, Sorreltail, Rainwhisker, and Brambleclaw ducked out from under the brambles and ran across the churned earth behind him. Squirrelpaw scrambled after them, feeling the mud suck at her paws and cling to the fur of her belly. Oh my gosh, is the French accent still... Hold on, turn that off real quick. Thanks, Cordy. A few tail lengths away from the open door, Graystripe hissed, "Wait!" and the cats halted in the sticky mud. The two-legs stepped out of the wooden nest. It was carrying another cage and did not see the 6 cats waiting in ambush. "Now!" Graystripe screeched as he leapt at the two-leg. While he sank his claws into its hind leg, the two-leg dropped the cage. The cage cracked open with a sound like splintering branch. Squirrelpaw stared in astonishment as she recognized the gray pelt inside. It was Mistyfoot. The River Clan warrior leapt out and hurled herself at the two-leg's other leg, hissing in rage. Thornclaw joined the attack, gripping the two-leg as though he were clawing his way up a tree. The two-leg bellowed in agony and hopped around with the cat clinging to each leg. "Come on, Squirrelpaw!" Brambleclaw yowled. He jumped into the open belly of the monster, Sorreltail close behind him. Squirrelpaw heard the blood roaring in her ears as she watched Rainwhisker slip into the nest. She hoped there wasn't another two-leg waiting inside. Taking a deep breath, she hurled herself up into the monster with Brambleclaw and Sorreltail. Rows of cages were lined up in the gloom. The fear scent was overpowering, and for a moment Squirrelpaw froze. How in StarClan's name were they going to rescue all these cats? Then she saw Leafpaw, pressed against the mesh of her cage. "Squirrelpaw, over here!" she wailed. "I'm coming!" Squirrelpaw streaked over to her and used her teeth to tug at the catch in front of the cage. "It's loosening!" she hissed as the catch began to tear away like a wing of a pigeon. She pulled as hard as she could until the cage sprang open and sent Squirrelpaw toppling onto the floor of the monster's belly. Leafpaw leaped down and quickly rubbed her muzzle against her sister's. "It's really you," she breathed. "Spotted Leaf told me where you were," Squirrelpaw gasped, scrambling to her paws. Leafpaw blinked, then shook herself. "Tell me everything later. Come on. We've got to get all these cats out." She raced to the nearest cage and began pulling at the catch. Squirrelpaw turned to another and struggled until she thought she was spitting out a broken tooth, but the catch eventually came free, and a matted rogue Tom leaped out. Without a word, he fled from the monster and sprinted towards the woods. "You're welcome," Squirrelpaw muttered, before starting on the next cage. Unfamiliar cats leapt around her as Brambleclaw, Sorreltail, and Leafpaw worked on the cages one after another. The cage mostly contained rogues who were gone as soon as the doors were opened. Then Squirrelpaw felt the cat push her aside, heading deeper into the monster's belly, and saw Mistyfoot barging past. The River Clan warrior made straight for the cage at the end. "Sasha!" Mistyfoot yowled. She began scraping at the catch with her claws. "This works way better," Squirrelpaw told her, nudging her out of the way to use her teeth. Instantly, the catch opened and Sasha sprang out. "Get out of here!" Mistyfoot urged. Sasha hesitated, looking at the cages that were still closed. "We'll deal with these," Mistyfoot promised. Sasha's fur was standing on end, and her blue eyes were huge with fear. She was shaking so much that she wouldn't be able to open a cage if she tried. At last she nodded and leaped from the monster. Only a few cages still held cats. Leafpaw scanned the inside of the monster and called to Squirrelpaw. "Cloudtail and Brightheart are still in the hut. Go help them. Go and free them. I've got to let Cody out." "Who's Cody?" Squirrelpaw asked. "I'll tell you later. Quick, get Brightheart and Cloudtail." Squirrelpaw leaped out of the monster's belly and raced towards the wooden nest. Her heart lurched when she saw that another two-leg had arrived to help. Thornclaw had finally lost his grip on the first two-leg. The ThunderClan warrior landed heavily in the mud, but he scrambled to his paws and raced back to rejoin Graystripe in the attack. As Squirrelpaw dashed into the nest, she was almost knocked flying by a brown tabby rogue running out. She swerved quickly out of the way as the scraggly Tom hurled past her. Then she scanned the nest, searching for Cloudtail and Brightheart. Cloudtail was already free. He was helping Rainwhisker scrape at Brightheart's catch. "We can't open it!" Cloudtail yowled, his voice rising in panic. Try with your teeth, called Squirrelpaw. Cloudtail bit down hard, and Squirrelpaw saw him trembling with effort as he pulled, but it still would not open. More Two-Legs' voices sounded outside, and Graystripe raced into the nest. There are too many Two-Legs, he yowled. We have to get out of here. He pushed Squirrelpaw to the doorway. Get back to the trees. But Brightheart is still trapped. I'll take care of her, Graystripe promised, pushing Squirrelpaw with his nose. Just get out of here. He leaped over to where Rainwhisker... Oh my god, I forgot about this. Holy... He leaped over to where Rainwhisker and Cloudtail were still tugging at Brightheart's catch and shoved them out of the way. Get into the trees, he spat. Now! Cloudtail didn't move, but stood stiff-legged, staring in horror at Brightheart's cage. Her panic-stricken face was pressed against the mesh. Come on! Rainwhisker hissed at him and bundled the white warrior towards the door. Squirrelpaw glanced over his shoulder at Graystripe as he grabbed the stiff catch in his powerful jaws, then followed the others out of the nest. As she emerged, a Two-Leg lunged for her, but she spun around and bolted along the side of the nest. There were Two-Legs everywhere, howling in rage. She spotted Cloudtail and Rainwhisker making for the trees and pelted after them, thrusting her way into the tangle of brambles. Rainwhisker kept running into the forest, but Cloudtail skidded to a halt and turned back to watch what was happening outside the nest. Squirrelpaw crouched beside him and peered across the clearing. Leafpaw and a tabby she didn't recognize were running towards them. Hurry! She screeched. A Two-Leg was gaining on them, his huge paws taking giant strides across the mud. As Squirrelpaw watched, willing the cats to outrun the Two-Leg, the white and ginger pelt of Brightheart caught her eye in the doorway of the nest. Graystripe had opened her cage! The ThunderClan she-cat hurled towards the trees, the scars on her face half hidden by splatters of mud. She brushed past the Two-Leg that was chasing Leafpaw, unbalancing him in the slippery mud so that he fell over with a roar. Leafpaw and the tabby reached the safety of the bushes and scrambled in among the thorns. I can't believe you saved us, panted the tabby. Squirrelpaw was already rubbing her nose along Leafpaw's cheek, breathing in her familiar scent. I'm sorry we were nearly too late, she whispered. I thought I'd never see you again. Leafpaw was panting hard. Where's Brambleclaw? Squirrelpaw felt a jolt of alarm and scented the air. She smelled the fresh fear scent of Thornclaw and Sorreltail. Then she recognized a clump of dark tabby fur snagged on the bramble thorn. The blood was still wet where it had been torn from his pelt. She trembled with relief. If Brambleclaw had gotten this far, he must have escaped. He's okay, she mewed. Did Mistyfoot get out? Once the last cat was free, she started headed for the trees, Leafpaw told her. Then everyone's escaped, Squirrelpaw breathed in relief. As she spoke, Brightheart crashed into the brambles, her eyes huge with horror. Graystripe! She gasped. Where is he? Squirrelpaw demanded. Cloudtail nearly bowled Brightheart over as he leaped towards her. I shouldn't have left you, he cried, looking her all over her ravaged face. Where's Graystripe? Squirrelpaw repeated. Two legs, panted Brightheart, pulling away from Cloudtail. Squirrelpaw's heart jumped into her throat. What do you mean? One of them grabbed him. Squirrelpaw peered out from the undergrowth. A Two-Leg was closing the belly of the monster, hissing and spitting at the other Two-Legs, who were staring wildly around the clearing. It climbed into the front. The monster roared to life, and, spraying the mud from beneath each of its fat black paws, began to pull away. Then Squirrelpaw saw something that made her stomach flip over. A lone face peered from inside the monster, a face she had known since she was a kit. It gazed desperately at the trees as the monster picked up speed and raced away. Graystripe! Squirrelpaw gasped. I forgot that happened, but it makes sense now as I put things together. I forgot that happened. Let me get this straight. A group of feral cats attacked you at once out of nowhere. Guys, who am I supposed to give a country accent to now? 1 secondo, my lovely little buddies. Leafpaw. Yes, Leafpaw? What about Leafpaw? country accent. I'm not giving Leafpaw a country accent. She already has a soft, gentle voice. A new cat will get it. A new cat will get it. Chapter 8. We're already 30 pages in. That was a long chapter. Jeez Louise. Leafpaw watched the monster pull away and opened her mouth to howl, but no sound came out. The forest spun around her as she blinked, fighting the urge to lie down and never get up again. Two Legs began to run towards the trees, shouting and waving their paws. They were not safe yet. Brambleclaw exploded from the undergrowth behind them. Quick, run! He raced to Squirrelpaw's side and gave her a shove. Squirrelpaw dragged her horrified gaze from the clearing and stared at Brambleclaw. What about Graystripe? There's nothing we can do for him right now, he hissed. Hurry! We have to get out of here. Which way? Cody yowled, staring into the trees. Follow me, Brambleclaw ordered. Leafpaw hadn't seen Brambleclaw since he'd left the forest with Squirrelpaw. I forgot whose POV we were in for a second. This was a very different cat than had returned, an experienced, confident warrior, calmly issuing commands in spite of a huge danger they were all in. This wasn't the time to find out exactly where they had been for the last moon. Pulling her paws free from the mud, she scrambled through the undergrowth behind Squirrelpaw and Cody. Cloudtail passed her, with Brightheart so close to him their furs touched. Relief flooded through Leafpaw when she saw the familiar pelts of Sorreltail and Rainwhisker flash through the trees up ahead. Mistyfoot was with them. All the trap's cats had been freed, but they had lost Graystripe. She heard the Two Legs crashing through the forest behind them. Glancing over her shoulder, she watched them blunder through the bushes, swerving clumsily around the trees and stumbling over trailing brambles. Leafpaw knew they would not catch her now. They were in her domain. She could race through it as fast as any creature, her lithe body perfectly suited to slipping through the undergrowth like wind. The cat scrambled down Snake Rocks. The Two Legs were far behind now, and Leafpaw slowed her pace. Cody fell in beside her as they padded breathlessly into the leaf-strewn glade beside the great sycamore. The other cats were sprawled on the ground, exhausted. Cloudtail was licking Brightheart's ears, as if he would never get them clean. Mistyfoot watched them, her pale gray flanks heaving. Cody looked nervously around the clearing. Is it safe here? The Two Legs won't catch us now, Leafpaw assured her. But what about the foxes and badgers? Cody's eyes were huge. Aren't the woods full of all those kind of dreadful things? Like wildcats? Leafpaw joked weakly. She collapsed onto the soft leaves next to the other ThunderClan cats. Rainwhisker struggled to sit up. His dark gray fur stood on end, and there was blood oozing between the claws on one of his front paws. Are you sure they got Graystripe? Squirrelpaw flattened her ears. The monster carried him away. I saw him. But he was fighting like a ThunderClan cat, Thornclaw protested. They couldn't have caught him. There were too many Two Legs, Squirrelpaw explained. Mistyfoot dipped her head toward Squirrelpaw. I owe him my life, she murmured. I thought we would never escape. She stared intently at her. You saved us. Squirrelpaw sat up. It wasn't just me, she insisted. We've all risked our lives. Graystripe led the way. Leafpaw narrowed her eyes and studied her sister. That was the reply of a warrior, not an apprentice. She noticed how much leaner and stronger Squirrelpaw had become, much fitter than the scrawny ThunderClan warriors. Leafpaw bent her head to lick her own patchy, unkempt fur. For the first time, she felt awkward around her sister, unsure what to say when so much had happened since they had last seen each other. What will the Two Legs do to him? Sorreltail wailed, grief-stricken. Leafpaw wished she could offer comfort, but she didn't know what to say. If it hadn't been for her brave clanmates, she would be making that journey instead of Graystripe. May StarClan help him, murmured Thornclaw. StarClan is helpless against the Two Legs, Squirrelpaw spat. StarClan was with us today, Leafpaw reminded her. They gave you the strength to face the Two Legs. They will look after Graystripe. Sorreltail held herself to her paws and touched Leafpaw's muzzle with hers. Thanks StarClan the Two Legs didn't take you as well, she murmured. Squirrelpaw saw you in a dream, trapped in that place. She insisted we rescue you. It wasn't just me you saved, Leafpaw meowed, looking grateful at gratefully at her clanmates. You saved all of us, Cody agreed, padding over to Leafpaw's side. Sorreltail pulled away from Leafpaw and looked sharply at the kitty pet. Who are you? She demanded. You're not a forest cat, but you don't look like a rogue either. This is Cody, Leafpaw meowed. She stopped me from feeling sorry for myself and made me believe we might be able to escape. Sorreltail sniffed. You're a kitty pet? Rainwhisker sat up and stared at the tabby she-cat. Thornclaw flattened his ears. Yes, I'm a kitty pet, Cody confirmed. Brambleclaw got to his paws and patted over to Cody. Leafpaw saw her friend try not to flinch away from the broad-shouldered warrior, whose coat was streaked with mud and blood. Do you want us to show you the way back to Two-Leg Place? He offered. It's not safe enough to go that way yet, Leafpaw warned. The Two-Legs might be searching the woods. Brightheart sat up and stared nervously around the glade. It's okay. I'm sorry. It's okay, Cloudtail reassured her. We can outrun them from here. We'll be even safer back at the camp, mewed oh my gosh, these names, mewed Squirrelpaw. Why doesn't Cody come with us for now? The kitty pet stared uncertainly at the cats. For all her courage when they were trapped, she was obviously feeling daunted by being around so many of the wild cats she had heard about in the bloodthirsty stories. You'll be made welcome, Leafpaw meowed. She looked at Brambleclaw and Rainwhisker, hoping she was right. Firestar won't turn away any cat who's in trouble, Brambleclaw agreed. Won't your two legs be missing you? Sorreltail asked pointedly, and Leafpaw glanced at her in surprise. Yes, of course. Cody kneaded the ground with her paws. Some of the fire returned to her blue eyes. But it sounds as if it wouldn't be safe for me to travel through that part of the forest alone. I don't want to put any more of you in danger. She's jealous. We'll get you home as soon as it's safe, Leafpaw promised. I suppose we should be going then, Sorreltail sighed. She looked at Brambleclaw. What are we going to tell Firestar about Graystripe? Leafpaw swallowed. Graystripe was the ThunderClan deputy, one of the bravest and most experienced warriors, and Firestar's best friend. How could the clan cope without him? The cats fell into a miserable silence as they trekked through the forest. Leafpaw noticed that Thornclaw seemed to be leading them towards Sunning Rocks rather than the ravine. Why weren't they going to camp? She glanced at Squirrelpaw, puzzled. The clan had to abandon the old camp, her sister explained. The Two-Leg were getting too close. Leafpaw gulped. Has it gotten that bad? I'm afraid so, Thornclaw meowed grimly. Surely there's not enough shelter for all of us at Sunning Rocks, Cloudtail meowed. How are the kids? Brightheart asked anxiously. Not as well as they should be, Squirrelpaw admitted. We should leave before they get any weaker, Brambleclaw muttered. Leafpaw wondered what he meant, and felt even more confused when Thornclaw flashed him a sharp glance. Brambleclaw and Squirrelpaw had only just returned to the forest. Why were they talking about leaving already? Are we nearly there? Cody called from behind. Leafpaw could hear the murmuring of the river through the leafless trees. They were nearing the River Clan border, and Sunning Rocks was not far ahead. Yes, it's not far now, she called back. Thornclaw plodded onward, and Leafpaw followed with the others through a swath of bracken. They emerged at the top of the slope that led down to the River Clan border. Leafpaw could see water rippling at the bottom. It was unexpectedly comforting to find that the river was still there in spite of everything the Two-Legs had done to the rest of the forest. Mistyfoot padded down to the river. At the water's edge, she stopped and called back to the ThunderClan cats. And I honor the warriors of ThunderClan for rescuing me, and I mourn the loss of Graystripe with you. Her blue eyes clouded for a moment. Then she turned and pushed through the swirling water with powerful, churning paws till she reached the other side. The ThunderClan cats headed for Sunning Rocks. Leafpaw quickened her pace, impatient to be back with her clan and anxious to know what had happened to their old home in the ravine. Thank you for the follow, Leon. Cody matched her step for step, sticking close to her side. Leafpaw could tell by the flickering of her ears that the kitty pet was both excited and nervous about meeting the clan. Are you sure they won't mind me coming back with you? She's getting like a country sort of English accent right now. Leafpaw hardly heard her. She had just spotted Firestar sitting near the top of the broad gray slope. The sun lit up his fiery pelt, picking out his bony frame. He looked thin and tired, and his eyes were half closed. How could she tell him that Graystripe had been lost in rescuing her? The thought pierced Leafpaw's heart like a thorn. The breeze must have carried her scent, for Firestar suddenly turned and stared down the rock. He jumped to his paws and raced down with them with his tail held high. "Leafpaw!" he panted, sliding to a halt. "You're safe!" He licked her ears, and purr throbbed in his throat. "I missed you so much," Leafpaw mewed, pushing her face into the familiar warmth of his pelt. "Thanks, StarClan, I have both of you back." Firestar's mew was thick with emotion. Brambleclaw and Squirrelpaw waited at the bottom of the slope with the other ThunderClan warriors, while Cody hung back among the trees. Cloudtail and Brightheart shot past them into Sunning Rocks, calling for their kit. "Whitepaw!" Cloudtail called. "We're back!" The snowy-pelted apprentice was dozed in a sheltered dip in the rock. At the sound of their voices, she raised her head and leaped to her paws. "You escaped!" she cried, hurling down the slope to greet her mother and father. "So cute." She skidded into them, purring with delight. Cloudtail wrapped his tail around her, while Brightheart licked her so fiercely that Whitepaw ducked out of the way with a muffled squeak. Sandstorm came racing out from the overhang at the side of Sunning Rocks. She bounded down the slope and nudged Firestar out of the way. "Leafpaw, did they hurt you?" "No," Leafpaw answered as Sandstorm enthusiastically began to lick away the stench of two-leg nest from her daughter's pelt. "I'm fine, honestly." "How did you escape?" Firestar demanded. "Squirrelpaw rescued us," Leafpaw delightedly fought to keep her balance against her mother's eager grooming. "I had a dream last night." Squirrelpaw stepped forward. "Spotted Leaf told me where Leafpaw was trapped." "Why didn't you tell me?" Firestar stared in amazement at his daughter. "You were away on patrol," Squirrelpaw explained. "It couldn't wait, so Sorreltail and I found Leafpaw by yourselves, and there wasn't time to come all the way back to camp for help." Sorreltail broke in. "The two legs were already starting to take all the cats they'd caught away from the forest." "We couldn't rescue them by ourselves," Squirrelpaw chipped in, "but we found Graystripe and Brambleclaw near the Snake Rocks." "And Thornclaw and Rainwhisker," added Brambleclaw, "but it was Graystripe who had led the rescue. He assessed the danger and decided it was worth trying to save all the cats that the two legs had trapped." "Graystripe," Firestar murmured. "I might have known he'd try something foolish." He looked around for his old friend. "Where is he?" Leafpaw felt a rock sway under her paws. Sandstorm stopped washing her, as though she sensed something was wrong. Firestar looked at her with his head to one side. "Why didn't he come back with you?" Leafpaw saw him read her expression. His face suddenly seemed to cast in shadow. "The two legs caught him," she forced herself to say, the words dropping like stones in the cold air. "They trapped him inside a monster and took him away," Squirrelpaw explained hoarsely. "Graystripe's gone?" Firestar whispered. He sat down, drawing his tail around him. Leafpaw's legs trembled. Her father had never seemed so far away, so far beyond her reach for comfort. We should have gotten a bigger patrol together. We should have gotten a bigger patrol together before we attacked," Brambleclaw stammered, staring grief-stricken at his leader. "I should have stopped him. I'm sorry." Firestar stared at the dark brown tom in front of him. A fire seemed to burn in his eyes, and, for a moment, Leafpaw was afraid that her father was going to take out his pain on the young warrior. Beside her, Squirrelpaw unsheathed her claws. Would she really defend Brambleclaw against their father? Leafpaw wondered, but Brambleclaw met his leader's gaze without flinching. You have brought back my daughter and Cloudtail and Brightheart." Firestar almost seemed to be persuading himself that he could not blame Brambleclaw for what happened. "Graystripe will find his way back to us." "But they trapped him in a monster," Rainwhisker murmured. Firestar stared at the gray warrior, hollow-eyed. "He will return," he repeated. "I have to believe that or everything will be lost." Sandstorm moved closer to Firestar and pressed her cheek against his shoulder. But Firestar just turned away and walked slowly towards the shadowy overhang. Suddenly, he looked old beyond his years. Sandstorm patted after him. "We have both our daughters back." Her voice drifted over the rock. That is a miracle we never thought would happen. Firestar gazed at her. Graystripe would have sacrificed himself for them in an instant, he admitted. That's why he always will be a good friend, Sandstorm murmured. She sat beside Firestar and curled her tail around him. Leafpaw! Cody hissed from the shadows of the tree. Is everything okay? Leafpaw could not answer. She was still staring at her father with a pang of sorrow so great she could hardly breathe. She felt her sister's tail sweep gently down her flank. Don't worry, Squirrelpaw murmured. Firestar will be all right, so long as he believes Graystripe will return. But they trapped him in a monster, Rainwhisker repeated, as if he would never get the image out of his head. Mousefur looked grim. Firestar will have to choose another deputy before Moonhigh, she meowed. Squirrelpaw's eyes flashed with rage, and she rounded on Mousefur, making Leafpaw jump. You're acting like Graystripe is dead, she cried. He's not dead! You heard what Firestar said. He will come back. We must not give up hope. Fiery. Graystripe and Firestar's relationship is all I want in life. They're besties! They're soulmates! It is! It really is. I love them. Chapter 9. Let me drink. A mournful yowl echoed around the rocky cleft, jolting Leafpaw awake. For a moment, she thought she was back in a cage, and that her terrifying escape had been nothing but a dream. Then she smelt the scent of the forest and the river on the icy breeze, and she remembered she was at Sunning Rocks, in the new ThunderClan camp. She blinked open her eyes and looked over the edge of the hollow, her breath billowing like smoke in the freezing air. What is it? Cody whispered. The kitty pet had slept beside her in the apprentice's gully last night. Leafpaw felt her soft fur brushing against her flank. It sounded like Fern Cloud, she meowed, but I can only see Dustpelt from here. The striped warrior stood on the frost-covered slope, silhouetted by the early morning light. A kit dangled limply from his jaws. Whoop. A Dustpelt carried the kit away. Fern Cloud cried out again from the hollow that formed the camp's makeshift nursery. Leafpaw scrambled out, struggling to get a grip on the icy stone, and raced to Fern Cloud's side. What's happened? Hollykit's dead! Fern Cloud whispered. Dustpelt's gone to bury her. She tucked her remaining kit close to her belly. I woke and she was cold. So cold. Her voice cracked with grief. I licked her and I licked her, but she would not wake up. Leafpaw felt sorrow grip her heart. What kind of medicine cat was she if she hadn't even noticed Hollykit was so close to death? Leafpaw, you were caught in a cage for the last, week. Oh, Fern Cloud, she breathed. I'm so sorry. One by one, the clan gathered around above the nursery in grim silence. Cody stood among them, her eyes round with sympathy. To Leafpaw's relief, her clanmates took no notice of the kitty pet. They shared a common enemy now, the two-legs who were trapping the cats and tearing up the forest. Cinderpelt scrambled down the hollow. Fetch some poppy seeds, she ordered. Ferncloud must not waste what little energy she has left on grieving. Leafpaw hurried to the crack in the rock where Cinderpelt stored her tiny heap of remedies and reached in to pull out a leaf-wrapped hoard of poppy seeds. She wished with all her heart that they were still in the ravine, where the medicine cats had kept their den in the rock well stocked. Looking at the shriveled leaf beside her paw, she guessed there were only 2 or 3 doses of poppy seeds left, and there was no hope of finding more with Leaf Bear kneeling upon them. Firestar's call startled her. Leafpaw! She turned to see her father bounding up the slope with Brambleclaw and Mousefur. How's Ferncloud? He asked. Cinderpelt told me to get some poppy seeds to calm her, Leafpaw told him. I didn't think it would get this bad so soon, Firestar growled. Oh, StarClan, what can I do to help these cats? He raised his eyes to Silverpelt, fading quickly in the dawn light. Last night was so cold, Mousefur remarked. The poor little mite didn't have enough flesh on her bones to make it through. Birchkit survived, Leafpaw reminded them. We must do everything we can to make sure Ferncloud can feed him properly. But the nights are only going to get colder and colder, and once the snow comes... Firestar trailed off and stared into the treetops beyond Sunning Rocks. Brambleclaw glanced uneasily at Leafpaw. If we are to leave the forest, we should go soon, he meowed, before snowfall makes the mountains too difficult to cross. Leafpaw narrowed her eyes. She had been torn by doubts since her sister had told her about Midnight's warning. She could tell that many of her clanmates couldn't believe that StarClan really intended them to go back, but she trusted that her sister and Brambleclaw had a role to play in their clan's destiny. She did not want to leave her forest home, and she feared the clan were not strong enough for such a journey. But how could she ignore the will of StarClan? You already know how I feel. We cannot go without the other clans, Firestar pointed out. Leafpaw silently agreed with him. However much hardship one clan was in, they had to remain together for StarClan's sake. I must take these to Ferncloud, she murmured, picking up the bundle of seeds. As she reached the crevice, Sorreltail was padding away, her eyes dull with sorrow. She didn't even look up as she went past. Leafpaw noticed that she trod carefully on the freezing stone as if it hurt her paws. She scrambled into the hollow and dropped the poppy seeds at Cinderpelt's paws. Ferncloud was lying with her eyes wide, staring at nothing. Birchkit was huddled beside her, too shocked and hungry to mew. To Leafpaw's surprise, Cody was there too. Thank you, Cinderpelt whispered, taking the leaf bundle and carefully unwrapping it with her teeth. Shouldn't you be outside? Leafpaw gently prompted Cody. I thought I might be able to help, came the reply. I lost a litter once. A whole litter? That's so sad. They didn't die, Cody explained quickly. My housefolks sent them away to new homes, but I felt the losses badly. And these are the two eggs you want to go back to? Leafpaw mewed in disbelief. How could you possibly forgive them? It is normal for kitty pets not to raise their kits. We don't expect anything else. Cody blinked. My housefolk are gentle and kind. They choose good homes for each kit. They wouldn't have known that I missed them. Cinderpelt silenced them with a warning stare. Ferncloud had grown fretful again, withering in the cold stone and letting out tiny moaning sounds. Hollykit is with StarClan now, Cinderpelt whispered to her. She will never know cold or hunger again. Tried my best, Ferncloud wailed. Why couldn't I have died instead of her? Firestar's deep mew sounded from the rim of the hollow. Because then there would be no cat left to look after Birchkit. You must have courage, Ferncloud. Leafpaw looked up. Cody flattened her ears. She had not met the ThunderClan leader yet. Ferncloud, I'm so sorry about Hollykit, Firestar went on. We will make sure that Birchkit survives. Ferncloud stared up at him. Birchkit must survive, she hissed. Cinderpelt placed a poppy seed on the ground beside her. Here, she mewed. Eat this. It will help soothe your pain. Ferncloud looked uncertainly at the seed. Cody stretched forward and sniffed the black speck. Eat it, she advised, pushing it nearer to Ferncloud with her paw. You need to save all your strength for the kit you have left. Firestar watched her curiously. Sandstorm told me Leafpaw had brought a kitty pet back with her. Is that you? Yes, I'm Cody. Come, Ferncloud, eat the poppy seed. You can see the clan cannot offer you much as a place of safety. Firestar apologized, but it's even more dangerous for you to travel alone. When I have a free warrior, you'll be escorted home. Until then, you can stay with us. Thank you, Cody murmured. Firestar gaze flickered back to Ferncloud. Will she be all right? She just needs rest. And Birchkit. He always was the strongest of the three. Cinderpelt bent down and licked the small scrap of fur that had begun to knead at his mother's belly in search of milk. Do your best. Firestar turned and padded away. Cody's shoulders drooped. It's hard to believe your father was ever a kitty pet, she muttered to Leafpaw. I never really think about it, she admitted. It's not as if I knew him back then. I was born after he became leader. She looked at Cody. Will you be all right, staying here? Of course. Cody sounded surprised that Leafpaw should have any doubts. Sweeping her tail gently along Leafpaw's flank, she turned and crouched beside Ferncloud. You two go, she meowed to Leafpaw and Cinderpelt. You have many cats to look after now. There is little I can do for the rest of the clan, but at least I can take care of Ferncloud. Cinderpelt looked uncertainly at the kitty pet, but Cody reassured her. I'll make sure she eats the seed, she promised, and while she sleeps I can look after Birchkid. He'll be missing his sister. Cody gets the country accent now. Very well, Cinderpelt agreed. But call me if Ferncloud becomes distressed. Cody nodded, and Leafpaw followed Cinderpelt out of the den, glancing back just once to blink appreciatively at her friend. The clan was huddled in small groups on the exposed flank of the rock, their faces grave. Leafpaw suddenly longed to run through the woods on her own. The clan she had returned to seemed filled with more suffering than she could ease, and she wanted to be away from it, if only for a short while. She padded down the slope towards the trees. Pushing through the undergrowth, she inhaled the earthy odors of the forest, drinking them in gratefully. She detected the familiar smells of squirrelpaw. Cody, C-O-D-Y, yeah. She detected the familiar scent of squirrelpaw and brambleclaw, and when she put her head to one side to listen, she heard their voices mewing urgently up ahead. Weaving through the break-in, she found them in a small clearing near the RiverClan border. I told Firestar we have to leave soon. Brambleclaw was meowing. We shouldn't try to cross the mountains after the snow comes, and we'll never make it to New Leaf if we stay here. But how do we know we should go through the mountains? Squirrelpaw argued. The sign never appeared when we were at the Great Rock. A warrior was meant to show us the way, but no warrior came. With no sign, how do we know where we're meant to go at all? Brambleclaw muttered. Perhaps Midnight was wrong. How could she be wrong? Squirrelpaw mewed. StarClan sent us to her. Leafpaw froze, her tail quivering. She closed her eyes, wishing for some sign that StarClan was listening. Hi, Risen! And then opened them again impatiently. Why was she being so feeble? If StarClan had a sign, they would send it. Until then, they would have to figure this out by themselves. Squirrelpaw? She called. Brambleclaw, it's me. She pushed her way through the break-in to join her clanmates. The pair sprang away from each other and faced her warily. Brambleclaw shifted his paws. Did you hear what we were talking about? Yes. What do you think? He stared at her. Could Midnight have been wrong? Part of Leafpaw wanted Midnight to be wrong. She wanted to stay in the forest where she had been born. This was StarClan's home too. But why else would they have ordered Brambleclaw and the others to make such a dangerous journey? They would not have risked the cats' lives for nothing. Is it StarClan you doubt, or yourselves? She murmured. Brambleclaw wearily shook his head. The journey was difficult enough. We didn't think things would be even harder once we returned. We were so sure StarClan would show us the way, but they haven't, and we can't afford to wait. Taking the clan away from their home is such a big responsibility. And we don't know when we should leave or where we should go, Squirrelpaw put in. In the end, it has to be Firestar's decision, Leafpaw reminded them. You can only tell him what you have seen and heard. Yes, Risen. Every Wednesday I read Warrior Cats. We're on the second series on the third book, I believe? Yes, third book. It's kind of like an audiobook stream. Brambleclaw nodded. How did you get so wise? Squirrelpaw asked her sister fondly. How did you become so brave and noble? Leafpaw teased, flicking Squirrelpaw's flank with her tail. She felt the surge of happiness at being with her sister again. Then she remembered Ferncloud and Greystripe. and her heart sank. Firestar does decide to leave, she breathed. What about Graystripe? Squirrelpaw looked sad. Graystripe will find us, wherever we are. Hope so, Leafpaw mewed. But until he does, who'll be the deputy? Graystripe is still our deputy, Brambleclaw meowed. But he's not here, and the clan needs strong leadership now more than ever, Leafpaw argued. Firestar can't appoint a new deputy as long as he believes Graystripe is still alive, Brambleclaw insisted. Leafpaw shook her head. She couldn't agree with him, but she admired his loyalty. Let's not argue about it, Squirrelpaw pleaded. There's already too much to worry about. She glanced at Leafpaw. There's something I'd wished I'd asked Graystripe to explain before we lost him. Leafpaw tipped her head to one side. What? It just seemed strange at the time, and Firestar silenced him before he could explain. Brambleclaw pricked his ears as she went on. When we first returned, Graystripe welcomed us by saying, Fire and Tiger have returned. Squarepaw blinked. It just seemed like an odd thing to say. Leafpaw looked at her paws, unsure what to say. She should tell Squirrelpaw and Brambleclaw about Cinderpelt's ominous warning. Or would they be better off without that hanging over their heads? After all, they had enough to worry about already. You know something, don't you? Squirrelpaw prompted. Leafpaw shuffled her paws, feeling a flash of frustration that she could never hide anything from her sister. Cinderpelt had a message from StarClan. Brambleclaw leaned forward. I thought that StarClan had been silent. It was just before you left. Leafpaw explained. StarClan warned her that Fire and Tiger would destroy the clan. Fire and Tiger? Squirrelpaw echoed. What's that got to do with us? Leafpaw twitched an ear. You are Firestar's kid. She turned to Brambleclaw, and you are Tiger Star's. Squirrelpaw's eyes widened. So we're Fire and Tiger? Leafpaw nodded. But how could anyone believe we'd destroy the clan? Squirrelpaw protested. We've risked our lives to help save them. I know. Leafpaw dipped her head. And no cat really thinks you would. In fact, only Firestar, Cinderpelt, Graystripe, and I even know about it. She was desperate to reassure her sister. We believe you would never do anything to harm us. Leafpaw realized that Brambleclaw had said nothing, but he was staring at her, his eyes dark with worry, and she felt a flash of inexplicable fear. Brambleclaw? Oh, reason. In the books, the book is about, all the books that we read are about cats, and it's a kid's book, but it's still very brutal, and a lot of cats die in the book. So we have a death toll, which is right here on the side. This one right here. Whee! And that's how many cats have died since we started reading the second series. Yeah, a baby died recently. A little kitten. And no worries if you're still learning English. Ask any question you want, and I'll be happy to answer. Let's see. She felt a flash of inexplicable fear. Brambleclaw? Are you sure we wouldn't destroy the clan? He growled. What do you mean? Of course we wouldn't! Squirrelpaw rounded on Brambleclaw in anger and confusion. Not on purpose, Brambleclaw meowed. But it's us, isn't it? Fire and Tiger? Who want to lead the clan away from its home and on a long, dangerous journey when we don't even know where we're meant to be going? A cold shiver rippled down Leafpaw's spine. Cinderpelt's prophecy suddenly seemed more frightening than it had ever been before. If the clan left the forest, following Squirrelpaw and Brambleclaw, what terrible fate awaited them? When the three cats returned to Sunning Rocks, the leaf-bare sun was already low in the sky. Each cat carried a piece of fresh kill. Leafpaw had caught a mouse, Brambleclaw held a starling in his jaw, while Squirrelpaw carried a plump thrush. Leafpaw longed to go to sleep and forget Brambleclaw's worrying warning. But she was a medicine cat, and she could not rest until she knew the clan was all right. As she followed her sister up the slope, she wondered if Cody had managed to persuade Ferncloud to eat the poppy seed. Breakenfur met up with them. "The fresh kill pile's over there." He gestured with his tail to a meager heap further up the rock. Ashfur sat guard beside it, scanning the sky for birds of prey. The days were gone when fresh kill pile lay at the edge of camp, well stocked and unguarded. As Leafpaw dropped her offering onto the pile, she was shocked by how small it was. There would be not enough for a whole piece of each. There would not be enough for a whole piece of prey each. Tonight she would go without, she decided. She felt too tired to eat anyway. She padded towards Cinderpelt and Mousefur, who were lying underneath the shadowy overhang. The medicine cat looked exhausted, as much in need of healing herbs as any of her clanmates. "How's Ferncloud?" Leafpaw asked. Cinderpelt looked up. "She's resting now. Cody's taking care of her." "Not bad for a kitty pet, this one," Mousefur added with a twitch of her tail. "She looked so nervous when she arrived, I didn't think she'd settle in. But it looks like she'll be okay here. For a little while, at least." Leafpaw blinked gratefully at the dusky brown cat, then turned to Cinderpelt again. There was something she had to ask, even though she dreaded hearing the answer. "Will Ferncloud lose her other kit?" "Birch Kit is strong enough for now," Cinderpelt reassured her. "And with only one mouth to feed, Ferncloud should be able to give him more milk." "He won't last this winter if we stay here, though," Mousefur commented. Her eyes betrayed alarm as she saw Dustpelt padding towards her. "Hope you didn't hear that," she whispered. "He's mourning enough already." I did hear, Mousefur," Dustpelt meowed wearily, "and I agree. We must leave the forest." Leafpaw stared at him in shock. Hollykit's death seemed to have crushed the last morsel of strength in him. Dustpelt raised his voice so that his deep meow rang around the rock. All the cats stared at him in astonishment. "We must leave the forest as soon as we can," he insisted, his eyes blazing. He swung his head around to look at Brambleclaw. "Your message from StarClan is the only sign of hope we've had," he meowed. Mousefur stood up. "Before we can leave, we'll need a new deputy." As she spoke, Firestar appeared from the edge of the forest, carrying a scrawny blackbird. He'd clearly heard her words. His eyes glittered as he dropped the blackbird onto the fresh kill pile and strode up the slope. "ThunderClan has a deputy. When Greystripe returns, he won't find another cat in his place." He turned to Dustpelt. "I'm glad you agree we must leave," he meowed, "but we cannot leave yet, not without the other clans." "I have only one kit left," Dustpelt meowed. "He will die if we stay. We will probably all die." "Then we must try harder to persuade the other clans to leave," Greystripe growled. "The other clans can come when they're ready," Dustpelt retorted. "We are ready now." Firestar returned the warrior's gaze. "We cannot leave yet," he repeated. "Ferncloud still needs to rest," Cinderpelt put in quietly. Firestar acknowledged her support with a brief nod. Brambleclaw faced Dustpelt. "I know you are mourning two kits," he mewed, "and that you fear for the other. But Firestar's right. StarClan would not want us to leave without the other clans." He turned to the other cats. StarClan chose a cat from each clan to carry Midnight's message back. We had to work together to survive. Without ever thinking of the differences between our clans, StarClan wanted us to share the journey, to learn how to help each other. They must want us to travel together now. Firestar padded across the rock to stand beside the young warrior. "We need to send out more hunting patrols," he meowed. "We are under no threat from the other clans now. RiverClan have more food than we do. They have no need to attack." He stared around at the gaunt, hungry cats. "We can devote all our patrols to hunting from now on. We will find enough food in the forest until it's time to leave. Yes, Dustpelt, we will leave. I will visit RiverClan and ShadowClan and try to persuade them once more." Relief washed over Leafpaw as the cats began to nod their acceptance. Then her heart lurched again as Mousefur stepped forward. "But what about Greystripe?" When Firestar flinched, she went on. "Whether he's coming back or not, we need to find another deputy for as long as he's not here. Someone to carry out his duties." "Yes," Dustpelt agreed. "You have not named anyone yet." He glanced at Brambleclaw. "You should choose someone young. Some cat StarClan clearly approves of." "Dustpelt? No way!" Leafpaw looked around. Ashfur, Whitepaw, Frostfur, and Cloudtail were all staring at Brambleclaw. even though Thornclaw seemed to be watching the young cat as though he might be the one to fill Graystripe's... Oh, even Thornclaw seemed to be watching the young cats as though he might be the one to fill Graystripe's paw prints. Only Mousefur and Rainwhisker were looking elsewhere. Breakenfur has enough experience, Mousefur suggested. He is young and strong, and has earned his warrior name many times over. Rainwhisker nodded. Breakenfur would be a good deputy. Why are you talking like this? Graystripe is not dead, Firestar spat. He is still our deputy. The bristling fur along his spine warned the other cats not to argue. He shook himself and blinked, calming down. But you are right. Someone must carry out Graystripe's duties. So until he returns, the senior warriors shall share them. He glanced at Breakenfur. You shall organize the new hunting patrols. Sandstorm can organize work within the camp. Brambleclaw, you can help me try to convince ShadowClan and RiverClan that we must leave the forest together. He stalked towards the overhang, and as he passed Leafpaw, he called to her. I want to speak to you, he meowed. Alone. Leafpaw followed him uneasily towards the hollow. She glanced down at Cody, who was still in the makeshift nursery. The kitty pet was busy washing Birchkit, ignoring the tiny kit's mews of complaint. Friend Cloud lay sleeping beside them. Feeling relieved that the cat who needed it most was resting, Leafpaw ducked beneath the overhang and into the shadowy cavern. Firestar looked urgently into her eyes. Leafpaw, he meowed, you must tell me if you had any sign from StarClan. No, nothing, she answered, surprised by his intensity. What about Cinderpelt? She has heard nothing either. Firestar blinked. I was hoping they might have spoken to you. Leafpaw shifted her paws awkwardly. Though she was pleased her father had such faith in her, she felt uncomfortable that he thought StarClan might share with her rather than the clan's medicine cat. Why are they so quiet? Firestar continued angrily, unsheathing his claws against the cold stone floor. Are they trying to tell us each clan must look after itself rather than leave the forest together? I felt the same way when the Tuliks captured me, Leafpaw admitted. StarClan did not visit me once in my dreams while I lay in the stinking cage. I felt as though I was utterly alone, but I wasn't. She returned her father's solemn gaze. My clanmates came to rescue me. Firestar opened his eyes wide as she went on. StarClan won't do anything to keep the clans together. They don't have to. Being one of the 4 clans, not 2, not 3, but 4, lies within our hearts, just like the ability to track prey and hide in the forest shadows. No matter what the other clans say, they cannot turn away from the divisions, the differences, the rivalries that bind us. The line that separates us from WundClan or RiverClan is also the line that connects us. StarClan know this, and it is up to us to have faith in that connection. Firestar stared at his daughter as though he were seeing her for the first time. I wish you have known Spotted Leaf, he murmured. You remind me of her. Touched beyond words, Leafpaw lowered her gaze. She sensed that this was not the time to tell her father that Spotted Leaf had spoken to her in her dreams several times. It was enough that Firestar thought her a worthy companion of the former ThunderClan medicine cat, who padded tirelessly through the stars, watching her clanmates. She just hoped with all her heart that Spotted Leaf and their other warrior ancestors would come with them when the clans finally abandoned the forest. Spitting facts! I actually thought that was Firestar saying all that, so I read it in what I thought was Firestar's voice, but... whoopsies. 1 second. What the heck? I just got a spam email telling me that they locked my bank account that was not my bank account because I don't work for that bank. Alright. Chapter 10. Oh, we'll have a little more hydration. We're already on 160. Holy, we're reading so fast today. Silent, hi! Cookie Red. Oh my gosh, you came right in between the chapters. You're so wonderful. Dead by Daylight. Last stream for the week. Oh, it's sleepy time. I know, no, sorry, I know you were reading. No worries. I just finished a chapter. We were about to start the next one, but then you raided me. So, perfect timing. Wonderful timing. I hope you had a wonderful stream. Did you win? You totally timed that. I bet you did. I believe you. You know what? I believe you. Guys, I've been putting off ordering food for a while because I know I need money. Thank you for the follow, T-Bubbles. But oh my god, I want a cake so badly. You lost every match, but I win because I timed the raid so well. True. You won in a different way. And that's what matters. That's what matters. Do you think you're better at playing the killer or the people who are running away? I need a cake. Cake. You're a runaway boy? Nice. I have Nicolas Cage. I'm not very good at Dead by Daylight, but you know, it is what it is. Oh, bounties by the pound. No, I don't want that. You know what I want? I want a crepe cake. Whoa! No. Crepe cake. Crepe cake. I've always wanted to try one of those. Well, we have 8 people die in the book. We have 8+ people die in the last 3 books. The death toll is. Thank you for the stream. Just like my DBD matches. Yeah, we have. This counter is for the 2nd series, which we're on right now. We're on the 3rd book of the 2nd series, so this toll has been counting since the 1st book. It's plus. The plus is for all the unnamed dead cats that died, because we don't know how many exactly there were. We were just told, oh yeah, many Wind Clan cats died and many tribe cats died. So we don't know how many there were. So we just added the plus to, like summarize it in the end, Yeah, Pog! But streamer, I like cats. Me too! Good thing a lot of them are still alive, right? We have the dead ones, but we also have the living ones. Sugar Lab Pancake House. The heck is this? Matcha crepe cake? No way. Wait, I have to look up pictures of this really quickly. Crepe capes are so yummy. I wish I had them. That's why I want them. I've never had them before. But I've wanted them so badly. Business hours. Merry Christmas. Can I just see the pictures, please? That would be really cool. The menu. Got one from a Japanese import store. Yeah, it seems like this one's from a... Yes, this is Japanese. Oh my god, it looks so good! Tiramisu! Mango pancake. Comes with 2 pieces per order. Inside the square crepes is whipped cream and a chunk of mango. Oh my god. Yo, I have to get it. Okay, what kind of crepe cake should I get as well? We have strawberry crepe cake, durian crepe cake, odd, mango crepe cake, Earl Grey crepe cake, chocolate crepe cake, matcha crepe cake. Wait, can I just see all the crepe cakes? Matcha? easy. Guys, I'm so sorry I have to tell this to you, but I don't like matcha. No! It's just, I don't know. I like it only, I like it when it's in Pocky and Kit Kats. That's the only time I like matcha. Any other matcha, I don't know, it just tastes like dirt, but not like good dirt, you know? Like, there's good dirt. Not everyone's cup of tea. What the heck is a Suradara? Suradara. Not like good dirt. Yeah, like good dirt. You know what I mean? Sawdust pudding, a sort of Portuguese dessert, perhaps the easiest and best last course meal. It is made by crushed tea cookies, sweetened whipped cream. Yo, that sounds yummy. There's no good tasting no. Yeah, there is. Like, you know when you have a carrot and you eat the carrot, like you clean the carrot, right? But you don't clean it completely. You kind of leave a little bit of dirt on it just for like the taste. You know? That's good dirt. That's some yummy dirt. You know? I'm gonna get the mango crepe cake is really popular. People leave. No! Silver, come back! I want to process your conference over so I'll take on matcha and go watch Barbie with my friends. Oh, have fun, Silette! Thank you so much for the raid again. Thank you everybody who's here that came with the raid. This is a reading stream, so I will be reading more. But right now I'm ordering crepe cakes. Have you a wonderful day. Have fun at the Barbie movie. The problem is, they've ranked them. The mango crepe is number 1, then matcha, then durian, and then the strawberry and chocolate ones, they're kind of like not down yet. But the Surida crepe cake is quite high as well. Suradura. Suradura. Can I look at all of your cakes, please? Yo, their cakes are so expensive. That makes sense, though. I want to see a Pikachu, please. Oh. Cold dessert. Mango and durian soup. Whoa. They have shaved ice here too. Milk tea. Okay, if I get some of this stuff, I'll die a little, like my tummy will, but I think it'll be worth it. In the long run of things, I think it'll be pretty worth it. What's the difference between brown sugar milk tea and brown sugar oolong milk tea? Is there much of a difference? Does anybody know? Oh. What? They have a weekend special with Oreo crepe cake? What the? Blasphemy! It's not the weekend. Oolong is not black tea. Oh. So is it? Would that be good? Suradura is a recommended one. Can I see the pictures, please? A little bit more, please? They're like, nope. You don't get to see any of them because you're a silly goose. And silly gooses aren't allowed in this place. Oh, okay. The matcha is like very finely layered. Is that strawberry? I can't tell. The mango one doesn't look as layered, which is very disappointing in my opinion. Oh yeah, pictures. I love crepe cakes. Can I see the pictures? They say no. The pictures are hidden behind a really bad design site. Please keep your geese out of our restaurant. There's health codes and such. Never. Whoa. Whoa, what's this one? Oh, guys, it looks so good. Oh my gosh. Oh, the strawberry one looks really cute. Ah, strawberry had an artificial taste. All right, so we're not getting strawberry then. Let's do the Suradura because that's one that's recommended. I don't want the mango because it doesn't look as tightly, congrats on winning juice! It doesn't look as tightly packed, which is what I really want. I don't trust Durin. Mix and match pancakes. Huh. We'll get that one, and then let's look at... I kind of want the mango pancakes. I can either get the mango pancakes, or I can get, milk tea. You're gonna win one day, don't worry, everybody does. Hokkaido. Hokkaido milk tea. This is black tea, which can have a smoky, earthy, or nutty taste, depending on the tea used. Classic original pearl milk tea. Wheat milk tea? What the heck? You know how you can taste test, like, ice creams if you go to an ice cream place? I wish they had that for, like, everything. Like, can I get a little sampler, please? Share tea? Okay. You just have to come over, alright? Yeah, mango crepe cake, definitely. I don't... Like, it looks really good, but it doesn't have that packed, like, thinly packed layer that you really search for in a cake. Let's see. I want to see more of the drinks, please. Brown sugar milk tea. They do have brown sugar milk tea? Don't lie to me. They're lying to me. Classic Original. Super tiny trial size pizza? Yeah! Like a little disc you pop in your mouth? I think that's good. I think that would be really yummy. And I think that it should exist. Just big enough for one pepperoni. Oh, but you couldn't put... You'd have to get, like, smaller pepperonis. Like, pepperoni bits. Because then the pepperoni would overpower all the rest of the tastes of the tiny pizza. And you wouldn't really be tasting the pizza. You'd be tasting the pizza and a pepperoni. You know? You get it? You get me? Yeah, exactly. It has to be evenly distributed. Pudding cup. All right, what do we want? We want milk tea. We want... You know what? I haven't had a classic original milk tea in a bazillion years, but I really wish I could. Why don't they have, like, brown sugar milk tea? Why does it have to be brown sugar oolong milk tea? Also, what's Hokkaido milk tea? I want the brown sugar because sugar is sweet. Maybe I can add brown sugar? No. Wheat milk tea. I'm gonna Google brown sugar oolong milk tea. Guess it doesn't look too different. Brown sugar fresh milk, brown sugar oolong tea, Yakult green tea. Oh, Yakult. Oolong milk tea, brown sugar, fresh milk. Thai ole. Brown sugar oolong milk tea. Introducing. Fine. You know what? I'll try it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. Then I know. Or maybe I should get... Ah, it's so hard! It's so hard to decide, guys. Okay, classic or the oolong, brown sugar oolong. That is ice jelly. The heck? Or Hokkaido. When Outer Wilds DLC? Eventually. Don't worry. Oh my gosh, speaking of Outer Wilds, Silver, I was watching Pomu play because it's so fun to watch people, like, you want to see people like discover everything, right? But oh my gosh. You like Hokkaido? Haikoda, sold, instantly sold. All right, you win. It was so funny because I realized one of the reasons why I don't like watching streamers is I can't stand it if they don't properly look through something. And I know they haven't properly looked through something, or they don't choose all the dialogue options, you know? So I hope you like it if you get it. Yeah, no worries. Even if I don't like it, then I know what it tastes like. I love trying new things. So don't even worry. Now you know what we felt. I know, I felt so bad, but I like to think that at least I choose all the dialogue options, and I kind of like, you know, she was at the, was it the South Pole of Brittle Hollow? You know, like where you like warp the warp pad? And there's those ruins there. And she didn't look through the entire ruins. And I'm like, you just need to walk a little further, Pomu. What are you doing? Just walk. Like some of those places. Yeah, see, I know. I like to look through. I like to look through some stuff. You know. Ooh, black sticky rice. No. I think I was like, I know at some points it was like definitely like head banging, like when I kept on dying, or I did blatantly miss something that was right in front of me. But I do like to think that I try to be as thorough as I can when I can be. Okay then. Aw, Silver, so nice. Yeah, I've been watching most of Pomu's, but now I'm trying Nina because Nina played it? And maybe Nina's playthrough will be better on my explorer heart. She does voices too, which is very fun. I love voices, but you guys know that. Let me just order this and then... But Nina didn't finish it? What? She didn't? How far did she get? I saw that she had 5 videos of it. I figured like maybe she was faster than me? She dropped it and I don't know why. What the? I guess she must have, she was probably playing it around the time she graduated. Probably. And she was trying to prioritize like a few other games, I think. When did Nina graduate? Oh, was it July 8th? Okay, July 8th. Nina Kosaka. Last stream she got mad? Really? Oh no. Did she rage quit because of backseaters? Dang, that sucks. Poor Nina. Pomo's like actively still, yes but no. Pomo's like actively playing it still. But so I'm hoping that she does actually finish it. Alira started it, but then she had to stop because she was too scared of the fish, I guess. She felt a bit bad and stopped playing for that, but it's not like she was super upset. She could have been super upset and we just didn't know about it. It happens sometimes. It's easy to fake things on stream. Do I get mango I'm getting mango pancakes. You know what? I deserve it. I deserve a little treat. I deserve a little treat, you guys. A tiny little munchkin treat. Because I haven't ordered anything for a very long time. I'm being very nice. 45 minutes. Alright, it's okay. Think of the head pads! Alright, it's being placed. It's being placed! The order! Oh, it's taking a while. Yeah! Order received! Okay, let's continue now. We have 40 pages left, which I think won't take us very long. Maybe like an hour? Probably. Alright guys, let us continue now that we had our little short intermission. I should have like a cool like intermission part of my streams because I tend to like do that during my Warrior Cat streams sometimes. Like we just randomly start talking about random stuff. I just need like, you know, like time for like my brain to settle. Is Ven back yet though? We'll see. That's all right. Ven can go back. Go back. We're on a time limit. You enjoying Uber Eats? No! Skip. I am enjoying it, but I don't enjoy you asking me. Okay. Chapter 10. Firestar led the patrol upriver, keeping close to the... Okay, it's Squirrelpaw. Wait. Okay, it's Squirrelpaw's POV. Whenever I hear, like, Firestar's voice, like, Firestar's name very close to the beginning, I'm like, oh my god, are we in his POV right now? Did anyone actually review apps when they ask you to? I've done it once or twice. Once I did it because they were baiting. You know, they're like, give us a 5-star review and we'll give you 1,000 gems. And I was like, sure. I love gems. And so I did. Sometimes I do it if I really, really like the app or I think it's really, really cute. Or if I really like it, but there's some sort of error that is preventing me from actually super enjoying it. Like I really, really like want to enjoy it, but I can't. I did! I do! Actually, wanted to be like a Google reviewer once. I like reviewed some stuff on Google and I got a lot of like good ratings off of it, and that means that they like bump my reviews up because I'm like a certified reviewer or whatever. So my review, it goes more priority. Cool, huh? Oh my gosh. That's what 3 makes? A little kitty cat face? So cute! Welcome back, Ben! I was about to start and then I got distracted again. I'm gonna take off my Snuggie. I'm a famous cake reviewer. Actually, it wasn't a cake review. It was actually for a vet. It was... My dog was attacked once. A long while ago? How many years ago? Quite a few years ago. But she was attacked and like really badly. We had to take her to an emergency vet, and I reviewed them because they did a really good job. And I didn't, so I thanked them, and then I posted pictures of the injury and then the injury as it healed so that people knew that it was still like, you know, like it healed well as well. So that's my most popular because everybody wants to look at it and make sure that it, you know, they can trust the vet, and I trust them. We trust them. But because of that, I got a good Google review score. So cool. All right. Chapter 10. Firestar led the patrol upriver, keeping close to the border where tempting prey scent drifted across from the water from RiverClan's territory. Squirrelpaw padded behind him in step with Brambleclaw, while Ashfur brought up the rear. It was the first time in days that she and Brambleclaw had left the camp together. Firestar had taken the tabby warrior with him to RiverClan and ShadowClan to plead with them once more to leave the forest. He'd done his best, but Leopardstar and Blackstar both still refused to believe that their future lay with the other clans, far from their forest home. Clouds had rolled in overnight, and freezing drizzle hung under the trees, refusing to fall as proper rain, but still soaking everything it touched. Squirrelpaw's fur clung uncomfortably to her body as the dampness soaked into her pelt. The trees shone wetly in the bleak leaf-bare light and dripped water onto fallen leaves below, turning the loose, crisp piles into slippery clumps. Suddenly, Firestar stopped and lifted his nose to scent the air. Squirrelpaw took a deep breath, hoping to catch the welcoming aroma of a mouse or thrush or vole. But there was no prey scent. Coming from this side of the river, only something that seemed strange and familiar all at the same time. I think I recognize that smell, she whispered to Brambleclaw. It smells like a rogue, Brambleclaw growled. Hush! Firestar commanded. He paused, then dashed forward with his hackles raised. The bushes ahead shivered, and a tawny cat burst out. As it streaked away, Brambleclaw yowled a battle cry, joining the chase. Come on! He called, but Squirrelpaw was already charging after him. The tawny cat swerved towards the scent markers at RiverClan border. Firestar headed after it without slackening the pace. Squirrelpaw felt a jolt of alarm as she neared the warning scents. The ThunderClan cats were gaining on the rogue as she pelted over the border. The moment Firestar's paws crossed the line in pursuit, a furious yowl sounded close by, and a dark brown RiverClan warrior leaped from a swath of bracken, snarling viciously. Firestar turned, skidding on the wet leaves, and stopped barely over the border. Brambleclaw and Ashfur almost crashed into him, but managed to stop in time. Hawkfrost! Brambleclaw gasped. Firestar took a step backward over the border, but he continued to stare at Hawkfrost, his eyes stretched wide as though he were staring into the face of a StarClan warrior. Squirrelpaw was surprised that Hawkfrost's ambush had shocked her father so much. It was hardly strange to encounter a warrior patrolling this close to the border, with every cat in RiverClan knew how well their neighbors were to starvation. What are you doing on RiverClan territory? Hawkfrost demanded. Firestar didn't answer at first. Then he seemed to recover himself, letting his fur lie flat and relaxing his shoulders. I was chasing a rogue out of ThunderClan territory, he replied. He glanced at the tawny she-cat who had halted behind Hawkfrost. Why challenge me when you have allowed a rogue to cross your borders? Hawkfrost exchanged a long look with the rogue before he answered. My mother will always be welcome in RiverClan, he meowed. Sasha! Suddenly, Squirrelpaw recognized the rogue she had helped escape from the two-legged nest. She felt the mild triumph of curiosity satisfied. It was common knowledge that Hawkfrost and his sister, Mothwing, had been left in RiverClan by their rogue mother, though she hadn't stayed in the forest long enough to be known by other clans. Firestar seemed to have more unanswered questions, because he stood rigid, staring at mother and son with his ears pricked. With a small dip of her head, Sasha meowed a greeting. I've heard much about you, Firestar, she murmured. It is interesting to meet you at last. Her voice was icy and dignified, and Squirrelpaw felt self-consciously young and awkward in comparison. So you are Sasha? Firestar meowed softly, his eyes glittering. You look as if you've expected something else, Sasha suggested. Firestar's gaze swept along her well-groomed pelt. You don't look like a rogue. You don't look like a kitty pet, Sasha countered. Squirrelpaw winced, but her father showed no anger. Instead, he met Sasha's proud gaze evenly. I've often wondered why a rogue would choose to leave her kits with a clan. Why would a clan make a kitty pet their leader? Sasha responded. She did not wait for an answer. Not all cats are true to their birthright, Firestar. Some choose their own path. Firestar narrowed his eyes. Are you such a cat? Maybe, Sasha meowed. Maybe not, but I hope my kits are. She glanced at Hawkfrost, and Squirrelpaw saw a flash of pride in her eyes. Will you stay with RiverClan a while? Hawkfrost invited her. We have plenty of prey. He cast a mocking glance at Firestar, but Firestar didn't react. He simply watched, his eyes still narrowed in thought, as Sasha gave her answer. I won't stay long, she told him, but I would like to see Mothwing before I leave. Hawkfrost curled his lip at Firestar. I shall send a patrol as soon as I get back to camp to make sure you have not been stealing RiverClan prey, he warned. We have no need to steal, Firestar retorted. He looked to his patrol. Come on. Though the air still crackled with tension, Squirrelpaw knew that the danger had passed. Hawkfrost and Firestar turned from each other and padded away from the border. She prepared to follow her father, but before they had reached the safety of the trees, Firestar halted and called out to Sasha. His voice was strangely calm. Tigerstar was their father, wasn't he? Sasha didn't seem surprised by the question. She nodded. Yes, he was. Yo, Firestar, he knows. Yo, I love Firestar, he's so cool. The ground lurched beneath Squirrelpaw. No wonder Firestar had looked so surprised when Hawkfrost had leaped out in front of him. He must have thought it was Tigerstar himself. Granted a tent life. He'd seen Hawkfrost before in the moonlit gatherings, but at the disastrous meeting at Four Trees the other night. But perhaps this was the first time they had come face to face in daylight. Then she heard a gasp beside her and saw Brambleclaw standing with his eyes wide. But Tigerstar was my father, too, he croaked. Does that mean I have kin in two other clans? Hawkfrost flicked his gaze to his half-kin. Surprised you hadn't guessed, he meowed. Squirrelpaw looked from one cat to another, finally noticing the similarities in their tabby pelts and powerful shoulders. I thought Tawnypelt and I were the only ones, Brambleclaw muttered. At least you got a chance to know your father, Hawkfrost twitched his tail. I envy you for that. I learned more from Firestar than I ever did from Tigerstar, Brambleclaw retorted. But still, Tigerstar knew you. He never even set eyes on me. Squirrelpaw felt a twang of sympathy for him, knowing how much she cherished her relationship with her own father, but she pushed it away. There was something about the RiverClan warrior that she didn't trust. Hawkfrost's gaze hardened. Get away from this border, he warned, kneading the ground with his long, hooked claws. claws like those of the black and gold tigers that elders described in their stories, claws that had given his father his warrior name. I will defend my clan against any cat if I have to. He turned and led his mother down to the river, and together they waded through the water and disappeared into the bushes on the other side. Squirrelpaw watched them go in silence, knowing he meant his threat. Tiger Star definitely got around. He was that kind of cat. He can't even stay loyal to his clan. What makes you think he'd stay loyal to his mate? Chapter 11. The rain grew heavier as Firestar led the patrol back to camp. Squirrelpaw was disappointed with how little prey they had caught. Brambleclaw had managed to scramble up an oak and catch a squirrel dozing off in the crook of a branch, but the effort had left him breathless, and Squirrelpaw realized that the hungry days since they had returned to the clan were beginning to have an effect on them both. I think it's best if we don't tell the others what we learned about Hawkfrost, Firestar decided as they trekked through the dripping trees. But shouldn't the clan be prepared in case... Squirrelpaw faltered. In case anything happens? She finished lamely. Brambleclaw dropped the squirrel he held in his jaws. Rainwater streamed from his whiskers. I think Firestar's right, he agreed. It would be better for the clan if they didn't know. Squirrelpaw narrowed her eyes. Was it the clan Brambleclaw was interested in protecting, or himself? Was he afraid what the other cats would say? He had struggled long enough to already prove his loyalty, and yet no cat could forget his father's efforts to destroy ThunderClan. There's no point stirring up unnecessary hostility, Firestar went on. Ashfur gave a low growl. But what if Hawkfrost shares his father's ambition to take over the whole forest? He clearly shared Squirrelpaw's shared fears. Secret fear. We mustn't jump to conclusions, Firestar warned. It's clear that Hawkfrost's loyalty is first to his clan. He said that he would fight to defend them. That does sound like does that sound like Tiger Star to you? Reluctantly, Ashfur shook his head, and Firestar went on. Hawkfrost is no threat to us. Yet, Ashfur meowed pointedly. Until he proves he is, there's no need to worry the rest of the clan. Firestar continued. We might need RiverClan's help before this is over. Ashfur swished his tail in frustration, but did not argue. Don't worry, Ashfur, Squirrelpaw reassured him. She hoped she had sounded more confident than she felt. Hawkfrost is just Hawkfrost. Tiger Star has left nothing bad in the forest except memories. Brambleclaw picked up the squirrel without commenting and patted away towards Sunning Rocks. Squirrelpaw cast an anxious glance at her father. He'll be okay, he meowed quietly as he brushed past her. By the time the cats reached Sunning Rocks, rain was battering the exposed rock, and water ran down in rivulets. Rivulets. That's the Rain Clan. The Rain World guy. Turning the earth around the rocks to mud. But instead of finding shelter, the cats were gathered halfway up the slope, huddled in a circle. Moans of sorrow mingled with the rattlings of rain on the shore. With a startled mew, Firestar bounded up the rock, and Squirrelpaw followed, pushing through the cats with their heart beating in her throat. A small, dark brown shape lay in the center, pelted by rain, which turned pale red as it streamed away down the stone. Squirrelpaw stared down at the limp, sodden body, too shocked to speak as she recognized the narrowed muzzle. It was Shrewpaw. Cinderpelt and Leafpaw crouched beside the apprentice. His neck is broken, Cinderpelt murmured. He must have died as soon as the two-legged monster hit him. He would have felt no pain. Yo, what the? Squirrelpaw closed her eyes. StarClan, what are you doing? She yowled silently. A desolate cry sounded from the nursery hollow, and Fern Cloud hurled down the slope. Shrewpaw had been one of her first litter! Oh my god, Fern Cloud and Dustpelt are going through it! The cats parted to let her see her dead kit. What have I done to StarClan that they would steal so much from me? She wailed. Don't blame StarClan, Leafpaw mewed gently. It is the two legs that have done this. Why didn't StarClan stop them? Ferncloud stopped. They are powerless against the two-leg, just as we are. Leafpaw whispered. She gave herself a shake, then straightened up and called, Cody? Squirrelpaw watched the kitty pet weave her way through the gathered cats. Her ribs were beginning to show through her flanks, but she hadn't tried to insist that any warriors be spared from hunting patrols to take her home. I think Ferncloud should go back to the nursery, Leafpaw meowed. It's flooded with rain, Cody told her. I've put Birch Kid in the warrior's den beneath the overhang. I'll let Ferncloud join them. Good idea, Leafpaw mewed. Do you still have the poppy seeds? Cody nodded. She looked at Ferncloud, who was distraught with grief. Birch Kid is hungry for crying for food, she murmured, but I think he can manage solid food if I chew it up first. Ferncloud isn't going to be able to feed him herself for a while. Poor thing. Brambleclaw caught a squirrel. He could have that, Squirrelpaw suggested. I'll bring it to the den, Ashfur offered. Cody nudged Ferncloud with her nose, and with Leafpaw's help they managed to lead her away from her dead kit and back to the shelter of the warrior's den. How did this happen? Firestar demanded when they had gone. He was with me, began Thornclaw, Shrewpaw's mentor. His fur stood on end. His eyes were huge with despair. He was chasing a pheasant. Why didn't I see the two-legged monster? He was chasing a pheasant, Thornclaw repeated. It would have fed half the clan. He forgot to be careful. Didn't you hear or smell the monster and warn him? Firestar's question was filled with more sorrow than accusation. Thornclaw miserably shook his head. With prey so scarce, the hunting is better if we split up. I wasn't close enough to see what was going on. Firestar dipped his head, understanding. I'll sit with him. Whitepaw's young voice sounded over the beating of the rain. Shrewpaw had been her den mate since kithood, and the sorrow of losing him glistened in her green eyes. I don't care if we've been driven out of our camp. We can still hold a vigil. I'll join you, Thornclaw croaked. He leaned down and pressed his nose against Shrewpaw's bloody flank. The other cats began filing past to bid farewell to their young clanmate. When it came to her turn, Squirrelpaw stooped low over Shrewpaw's body, her heart aching. You were an apprentice in ThunderClan, but you will never be a warrior with StarClan. Oh, but you'll be a warrior with StarClan. I was like, dang, Squirrelpaw, that's rude. She turned away and padded down the slope towards the shelter of the trees, her sadness feeling like part of the rain and tiredness that seemed to seep right through to her bones. She spotted Brambleclaw sitting beneath the larch tree, watching her. I can't believe Shrewpaw's dead, she sighed. I know, Brambleclaw murmured, entwining his tail with hers. Squirrelpaw leaned closer to him. Ferncloud is heartbroken. She will find comfort in having the rest of her clan around her, Brambleclaw sighed. Squirrelpaw couldn't help feeling that he was talking about more than Ferncloud's grief. After all, the clan means more to a cat than real kin. The clan means more to a cat than real kin, he went on. Even Tawny Pelt? She's with ShadowClan now. My loyalty to her comes second to ThunderClan, and she understands that. And what about Hawkfrost and Mothwing? Do you feel anything for them, now that you know you share the same father? Knowing we share the same father doesn't change anything, Brambleclaw went on. I'm nothing like Hawkfrost. The tip of his tail twitched anxiously. Am I? Of course you're not, Squirrelpaw replied hotly. No cat would think you are. Even when they find out what we have in common? ThunderClan will always think of you as a brave warrior, loyal to his clan, Squirrelpaw reassured him. Thank you. He gave her a quick lick on the cheek before getting to his paws and moving away towards the river. Squirrelpaw followed, keeping pace with him until he sat down and stared across the border into RiverClan. Squirrelpaw followed, his gaze. The river carved its way through the small glade, its surface shattering by the pouring rain. She peered closer and blinked. Look, Brambleclaw! She mewed in surprise. Look at the river! What about it? Do you remember when Hawkfrost and Sasha waded across it earlier? Yes. Brambleclaw twitched his ears. So? Well, they waded across it, Squirrelpaw repeated. They didn't swim. They waded. Brambleclaw looked baffled. Look at the stepping stones! Squirrelpaw jumped up and pointed with her tail. They're sticking right out of the water. After rain like this, in the middle of Leaf Bear, they should be nearly covered. You're right. Brambleclaw sat up. Surely the river shouldn't be this shallow. Well, it's been quite dry lately, Brambleclaw commented. Not that dry, she argued. It's been pouring all day today, but the river's not swollen at all. Something must be wrong. Like what? Just then, a familiar voice called from the bank opposite. What are you two up to? Stormfur appeared and waded across the stream. Are you finding it as hard as I am, being cooped up in camp after our journey? Yep. Everything's harder. Shrewpaw died, Squirrelpaw told him sadly. Whitepaw sitting vigil. Suddenly, she wondered if they should be back at camp, mourning their lost clanmate. She glanced at Brambleclaw, who seemed to understand her anxiety. We'll join them soon, he promised. Do you want me to catch you a fish to take back? Stormfur offered. The clan needs all the fresh kill it can get. Brambleclaw meowed, but I don't think they'd accept it. Are you sure? Stormfur asked. They're easy to catch now that the water's dropped. So I was right! The level is lower than usual. Squirrelpaw mewed, gazing again at the shallow stream. Is something wrong? Stormfur shrugged. Just a dry spell. This rain will get it flowing again. Squirrelpaw picked up a trace of Sasha's stale scent on the breeze. She glanced at Stormfur. The mystery of the river suddenly seemed less important now than how the rest of RiverClan felt about the rogue she-cat who seemed to come and go as she wished, and whose kits had so much influence in their adopted clan. We saw Sasha this morning, she began. You know Sasha? Stormfur looked surprised. Oh, I forgot. You met her when you rescued Mistyfoot, didn't you? When my father was taken. I forgot! Stormfur! His father! He's all alone! No, Stormfur, I love you! His voice trailed away, and Squirrelpaw pressed her flank against his. So sorry, she murmured helplessly. Stormfur nudged her with his nose. So am I. I wish I could have been there to help, he meowed, but my father made his own decision to help the trapped cats. He took a deep breath before he went on. Thanks to him, we got Mistyfoot back. The whole of RiverClan were amazed when she showed up. Hawkfrost especially, I'm sure, Brambleclaw commented. Squirrelpaw shot him a warning glance. Hawkfrost had been made deputy when Mistyfoot disappeared, which meant he might not have welcomed Mistyfoot back with the same enthusiasm as every other cat. But was Brambleclaw giving away too much interest in Sasha's kit? They couldn't be sure how much Stormfur knew about Hawkfrost's parentage. Well, I doubt he wanted to stop being deputy quite so soon, Stormfur agreed, but he welcomed her return as much as any cat. He's a good warrior. He knows he'll be a deputy one day, so he doesn't mind waiting. He sounds very confident, Squirrelpaw remarked carefully. He's always been like that, Stormfur replied. What's more important is that he's totally loyal to the clan and sticks to the warrior code like a caterpillar to leaf. Squirrelpaw blinked. Somehow she didn't think Stormfur had the faintest idea of who Hawkfrost's father was. She looked at Brambleclaw, trying to read his reaction, but Brambleclaw had something else on his mind. Do you think there's any chance Leopardstar will change her mind about leaving the forest? Leopardstar says she's not going anywhere as long as there's fish in the river, Stormfur told him. Does she care about the clan staying together? Squirrelpaw demanded. She did ask Mousefur if he'd had any sign from StarClan, just to be sure, Stormfur told her defensively, but Mudfur hasn't left his nest much recently. So he's had no sign either? Squirrelpaw asked, disappointed. Nothing, Stormfur sighed. It looks like the sign Midnight promised us isn't going to come, now that the two legs have destroyed the 4 trees. Perhaps we've seen the sign, but not just realized what it was, Squirrelpaw wondered out loud. Well, we've seen plenty of dying since we got back, Brambleclaw muttered darkly. Not just warriors, but kits and apprentices too. But you know what? We're beginning to think that no cat's going to show us the way. Wherever we're going, we'll just have to find our own way there. Real. Chapter 12. I love Stormfur. I think he was my favorite with Crowpaw when I was reading through it. Chapter 12. Leafpaw raked through her fur at the base of her tail, scraping out the troublesome flea. She cracked its fat body between her teeth, tasting with some satisfaction the blood it had stolen from her. Got it! Don't tell the others you had an extra piece of fresh kill, Squirrelpaw joked. They'll all want one. Leafpaw's belly growled. The vole she had just shared with her sister had barely touched her hunger. They were lying side by side in a shallow dip in the stone, watching the sun sink behind sunning rocks. The clouds had cleared, and a perfect half-moon hung in the blue evening sky. Has Cinderpelt decided whether you're going to make the journey to the Moonstone tonight? Squirrelpaw meowed. She's speaking with Firestar about it now, Leafpaw replied. The medicine cats of every clan met each half-moon at Mothermouth to share tongues with StarClan. They didn't need the half-moon to secure a truce. Medicine cats lived outside the differences between clans that sometimes led to quarrels, but it was an important time for sharing concerns and advice about treating their clanmates. Leafpaw saw Cinderpelt emerge, and she clambered to her paws, keen to find out if they would be going to Highstones in spite of the dangers that lurked in the forest. But Cinderpelt shook her head as she came over and stood at the edge of the hollow. Firestar agrees with me, she reported. We can't risk the journey with so many two-legs and monsters about. But we need to share StarClan now more than ever, Leafpaw protested. Firestar says he cannot risk losing us, and he's right. Where would the clan be without a medicine cat? Leafpaw sighed and scrapped at a rock with her claw. StarClan will share with us if they wish to, Cinderpelt mewed. Leafpaw shrugged. Maybe. Well, I'm glad you're not going, Squirrelpaw meowed as Cinderpelt patted away. I nearly lost you to the two legs once. I don't think I could bear it again. Leafpaw gave her sister a quick, fond lick on her head and settled down again. Do you think the River Clan cats will go to Highstones? She wondered out loud. It was strange to think that the other medicine cats might be making the journey without them. Would StarClan think Cinderpelt and Leafpaw were being cowardly? I doubt they'd risk it, Squirrelpaw told her. Last time Brambleclaw and I saw Stormfur, he said Mudfur was pretty sick. I was just hoping that if the medicine cats from all clans traveled to the Moonstone together, it might bring us closer, Leafpaw admitted. Squirrelpaw nodded. I know. You'd think trouble like this would unite us, like it did when BloodClan attacked. But instead, we seem forests apart. Each clan seems to have its own idea about what to do, Leafpaw sighed. If only StarClan would give us a sign. Were you hoping that StarClan might share something with you tonight? Leafpaw gave a small nod, avoiding her sister's gaze. She didn't want to betray the fear that had made her heart pound all day, the cold dread that they would go all the way to the Moonstone and find StarClan silent even there. It's stupid that the clans should find it so hard to come together. Squirrelpaw's mew interrupted her thoughts. They have far more in common than they think. Leafpaw looked thoughtfully at her sister, suddenly wondering what Squirrelpaw was hinting at. After all, ShadowClan, RiverClan, and ThunderClan even share kin, Squirrelpaw went on. You mean Tawnypelt and Stormfur? Not just them. Squirrelpaw's tail twitched as she spoke. There are other cats linked to ThunderClan by blood. With a jolt, Leafpaw wondered if her sister had discovered a secret she had known for a moon and kept to herself. Are you talking about Tigerstar being Hawkfrost and Mothwing's father? Squirrelpaw stared at her in astonishment. Have you been sharing my dreams again? Leafpaw shook her head. I've known for some time, she admitted. Why didn't you tell me? Squirrelpaw demanded. I didn't think it mattered. Not right now, when all the clans are in danger. Why should it make a difference if Tigerstar is Hawkfrost's and Mothwing's father? Leafpaw knew she was trying to convince herself. The last thing the clan needs was another cat with Tigerstar's hunger for power. A warrior like Hawkfrost can't be trusted, Squirrelpaw insisted. Leafpaw felt an uneasy knot twist in her belly. But Tigerstar is Brambleclaw's father too, she pointed out, and Brambleclaw is a loyal warrior. Brambleclaw has nothing to do with this, Squirrelpaw snapped. Of course not. Leafpaw agreed quickly. I only meant that having Tigerstar as a father doesn't mean a warrior has to follow in his paw steps. She prayed this was true. Good. Squirrelpaw nodded. Because Brambleclaw is completely different from Hawkfrost. They have nothing in common. Nothing. Leafpaw curled into a ball beside her sister and buried her nose under her paws for warmth. Squirrelpaw's words had sounded like an echo. Were they Brambleclaw's, perhaps? Good night, Squirrelpaw, she whispered, curling up close to Squirrelpaw, their sharp words forgotten. Leafpaw did not need a visit from StarClan to tell her that her sister was falling in love with Brambleclaw. Amid everything else that was going on, and however much Leafpaw missed the connection that once only the two of them shared, this felt right and good for the whole clan. She closed her eyes. I wonder if StarClan will share my dreams, she thought, as sleep tugged at her like a gentle river. It was a half moon, after all. That had to count for something, even if they weren't at Moonstone. Leafpaw felt the insistent nudge of a nose prodding her awake. Who is it? She whispered sleepily. It's me, Mothwing. The young cat's voice trembled. Oh, it's me, Mothwing. The young cat's voice trembled in fear. Leafpaw blinked open her eyes and saw the RiverClan apprentice outlined in the pale moonlight. Come quick, I need you. Mothwing mewed under her breath. Leafpaw felt her sister stirring beside her. What's going on? Squirrelpaw yawned. It's Mothwing, Leafpaw told her. Squirrelpaw was on her paws in an instant. What are you doing in our camp? She hissed. I need Leafpaw's help, Mothwing explained. Mudfur's very ill. But you thought you'd just creep in here in the middle of the night? Be quiet, Squirrelpaw, before you wake up the whole clan, Leafpaw growled. She wanted to tell her sister to stop seeing Tigerstar's daughter standing in front of them and see her instead as a medicine cat in trouble. But she didn't want to make Mothwing feel uncomfortable. Wait here, both of you, she meowed. I'll go tell Firestar and Cinderpelt. But, Mothwing began. Leafpaw silenced her with a glance. I'll come with you. I have to tell them where I'm going. Leaving the two cats in an uneasy silence, she hurried up the slope to the overhang. She crept into the shadowy cavern and followed her father's scent. Firestar lifted his head drowsily. Is that you, Leafpaw? Beside him, Sandstorm shifted but did not wake. Mothwing's come to ask if I can go and help Mudfur. He's really ill. She saw a shadow moving towards her from the back of the den and scented Cinderpelt. What's she treating him with? The medicine cat called under her breath. I don't know. Do you think it's safe to go? Firestar's eyes gleamed anxiously in the gloom. Mothwing wouldn't lie to me, she assured him, guessing he feared an ambush from a strong RiverClan cats. Then you must go, Firestar murmured, but if you are not back by dawn, I'll send a patrol to fetch you. We'll be back, Cinderpelt promised. She met Leafpaw's surprised gaze. I'm coming too. We must do everything we can to help Mudfur. She led Leafpaw out of the den to the crevice where she kept her supplies and pulled out several bundles of leaves. Leafpaw picked up half the bundles, and they hurried down the rock where Mothwing waited with her sister. I'm coming with you, Squirrelpaw announced. Leafpaw shook her head. No need, she muttered through the bundles dangling from her teeth. I'll make sure they both return home safely, Mothwing meowed. Squirrelpaw stared distrustfully at the RiverClan cat, and Leafpaw knew her sister was seeing a different cat, broad-shouldered and with gleaming amber eyes. Though they had been born many moons after Tigerstar's death, both sisters had heard him described enough times to be able to picture him as well as any of their clanmates. Remember Brambleclaw, she whispered to her sister. Sharing Tigerstar's blood did not mean a cat shared his dark heart. Lead the way, Mothwing. Cinderpelt's order was muffled by the bundles she carried, but Mothwing nodded and bounded silently down the slope. They waded easily across the river, keeping the herbs above the water. Leafpaw thought back to barely a moon ago, when she had crossed the stepping stones to help a RiverClan apprentice. She had nearly been swept away by the force of the water, and only the spirit of Spotted Leaf had stopped her from plunging into the rain-swollen flood. Now the stream trickled quietly around the rocks, hardly covering the pebbles on the riverbed. Mothwing led the ThunderClan cats into the reed beds. They were no longer marshy, but felt dry under paw. Leafpaw's heart quickened at the thought of entering another clan's camp, but Mothwing seemed unconcerned and took them straight into the clearing among the reeds. Unfamiliar eyes gleamed in the shadows, but there was nothing but worry and curiosity in their faces. Good, you have come, Leopardstar greeted them. Even in the moonlight, Leafpaw could see the River Clan leader was not as well fed as she had been lately. Her pelt hung from her body, and her eyes had the dullness of hunger that Leafpaw had begun to accept as normal. But why would River Clan cats be starving when the two legs were still a long way from their territory? Mudfur's in his den. I gave her like this very like nasally type, kind of snotty voice before, but I can't remember how I did it. Mudfur's in his den. But Leopardstar meowed. Mothwing will take you. She stared into Cinderpelt's eyes. Do everything you can, but don't let him suffer. He has served this clan well, and if StarClan needs him more than we do, then we should let him go in peace. Leafpaw followed Cinderpelt and Mothwing through the narrow reeded-lined passage that opened into a smaller clearing. It was so similar to the Medicine Cat clearing in the ravine that she felt a pang of longing for her old home. A low moan came from the shadowy corner. It's all right, Mudfur, Mothwing whispered. I've brought Cinderpelt. Cinderpelt hurried over to examine the Medicine Cat, sniffing him and pressing gently along his flanks with her paws. Whatever it was, the sickness had taken hold far inside his frail body. Mudfur was clearly in agony, his words indistinct and filled with pain. Cinderpelt, let me go. Peacefully, he begged, in a voice that rasped like claws scraping on bark. Lie still, my friend. Cinderpelt looked up at Mothwing. What have you given him so far? Stinging for the swelling, honey and marigold to soothe the infections, fever flow to cool him, and poppy seeds for the pain. Mothwing listed the remedies so quickly that Leafpaw blinked. Last time she had seen Mothwing face a crisis, when the River Clan apprentice nearly drowned, she had been frozen with panic, and Leafpaw had stepped in to treat the young cat instead. Good, that's exactly what I would have given him. Cinderpelt agreed. Have you tried yarrow yet? Mothwing nodded. But it made him sick. Can do that sometimes. Cinderpelt looked down at Mudfur, and her blue eyes clouded with sympathy. I'm sorry, but I don't think there's much more we can do. But he's suffering! I'll give him more poppy seeds, Cinderpelt meowed. Do you have any marigold left? Plenty. Mothwing hurried to a gap in the reed wall and drew out a pawful of crushed petals. Taking some dried berries from one of the bundles, Cinderpelt began to knead the petals into them. The berries still had enough softness in them to make a pulp. Cinderpelt sprinkled in more poppy seeds than Leafpaw had seen her use before. Then she pushed mashed herbs to mouth Mudfur. This will soothe your pain, she whispered. Eat as much as you can. The old Medicine Cat began to lap at it, his eyes growing soft with gratitude as he recognized what was in the mixture. For a wild moment, Leafpaw wondered if Cinderpelt had given him enough poppy seeds to make him sleep all the way to StarClan, but she knew from the gentleness in her mentor's eyes that she was only trying to ease Mudfur's pain. However silent their warrior ancestors had been lately, Cinderpelt still trusted them to come for Mudfur when they chose to. Leave us now, Cinderpelt murmured to Leafpaw and Mothwing. I'll sit with him till he sleeps. Will he die? Mothwing asked, her voice quivering. Not yet, Cinderpelt told her, but this will ease his suffering until StarClan calls him. Leafpaw backed away and followed Mothwing through the tunnel into the main clearing. How is he? Leopardstar demanded as soon as they emerged into the silvery pool of moonlight. Cinderpelt's doing all she can, Mothwing reported. Leopardstar nodded, then turned and padded away. I've never been here before, Leafpaw mewed, hoping to distract Mothwing. It's well sheltered. The young cat shrugged. It's a good camp. I'm not surprised Leopardstar doesn't want to leave it, Leafpaw went on, being careful to keep her voice non-threatening. She was curious about Leopardstar's sudden thinness, and by the look of the other cats moving around the edge of the clearing, the River Clan leader was not the only cat going hungry here. You're running out of fish now that the river's so low, aren't you? Leafpaw guessed bravely. Mothwing looked at her for a long moment. Yes. We haven't eaten well for a while. Does that mean Leopardstar might consider leaving now? To her dismay, Mothwing shook her head. Leopardstar says we'll stay as long as there are no two-legs in our territory. She says that if the river cannot feed us, we will have to hunt for new prey. Leafpaw felt a searing pang of frustration. With the stubborn River Clan leader, there was no new prey. She longed to screech, but she did not want to show disrespect for Mothwing's clan. You've become a great medicine cat, she mewed, clumsily changing the subject. Cinderpelt wouldn't have done anything different to help Mudfur. Leafpaw almost leaped out of her fur when Hawkfrost's voice sounded right beside her ear. You were right, he agreed. The clan will be lucky to have such a good medicine cat when Mudfur goes to hunt with StarClan. I think Hawkfrost has more faith in me than I do myself, Mothwing murmured. You have no reason to doubt yourself, Hawkfrost insisted. Our father was a great warrior. Our mother is proud and strong. They shared only one flaw, that their only loyalty was and still is, in Sasha's case, to themselves above all other cats. He paused and glanced around the clearing. We're not like that. We understand what it means to be loyal to our clan. We have the courage to live by the warrior code, and because of that, we'll be more powerful. We'll be the most powerful cats in RiverClan one day, and our clanmates will have to respect us then. Leafpaw felt as if she'd been flung headfirst into the icy river. However much Hawkfrost pledged to live by the warrior code, that sort of ambition could make him dangerous, like his father before him. Mothwing gave a purr of amusement. You mustn't take anything my brother says too seriously, she told Leafpaw. He's the bravest warrior he's the bravest and most loyal cat in RiverClan, but he gets carried away sometimes. Leafpaw blinked. She hoped with all her heart that Mothwing was right, but the arrogance that glinted in Hawkfrost's eyes filled her heart with unease. Something told her, some instinct that made her fur crawl. This was only the beginning. Hawkfrost could not be trusted. Chapter 13. Mudfur's not dead yet! He's not dead yet! We'll wait until the official deadness. Let me check my, meal? Latest arrival. 6:30. All right, we have I have a half an hour until my food gets here, but, you know, my cake. My scrumptious cake. All right. Continuing. Chapter 13. Squirrelpaw dropped the mouse onto the fresh kill pile. It did little to bulk up the meager offerings of a sparrow and vole already brought in by the Dawn Patrol. Sorreltail had hunted with her, but had caught nothing. Take that straight to the elders, Firestar mewed, padding over to them. Not Ferncloud? Squirrelpaw queried. Cinderpelt says she won't eat anything yet. Firestar sighed, but Cody has been sharing food with Birchkit. That kitty pet should go back to her two-leg and stop eating our fresh kill, Sorreltail commented irritably. She's no good for hunting. Cody takes hardly anything for herself, Firestar pointed out, and while she cares for Birchkit, the other cats have more time for hunting. Squirrelpaw glanced sympathetically at Sorreltail. She probably resented Cody more for taking up Leafpaw's time than for being a kitty pet. She picked up the mouse and carried it where the elders were making the most of the frail warmth of sunlight, sun high at the top of Sunning Rocks. Leafpaw and Sorreltail are low-key in love. Or at least Sorreltail's definitely, you know. The undertones are there. I can read them. I have authority. Frostfur and Speckletail had their eyes closed, dozing. Longtail, the blind Tom, who was no older than some of the warriors, sat up. I smell mouse, he mewed. It's not very big, I'm afraid. Squirrelpaw apologized. It's fine, Longtail assured her. He prodded the mouse with his paw, and the tip of his tail twitched excitedly when the little body shifted, as if the desire to hunt for himself had not dimmed. Suddenly, he lifted his head and opened his mouth to scent the air. WindClan! He exclaimed, more surprised than alarmed. What? Here? Mewed Squirrelpaw, looking around. She didn't think her father was expecting visitors. At the foot of the rock, Tallstar was leading a small, bedraggled patrol out of the woods. The ThunderClan cats watched them climb slowly up to where Firestar waited. No cat challenged them. Tallstar's steps was so faltering, his frame so emaciated, that Squirrelpaw was amazed he had made it all the way here. The two warriors that accompanied him were in no better condition. One Whisker and Tornier were so thin they looked like they were made of twigs and leaves, and Squirrelpaw half feared the breeze might blow them away. Emaciated. Crowpaw was at the rear of the patrol, looking thinner than he had on the journey to the sun-drowned place, though he was not quite as scrawny as his companions. Squirrelpaw bounded down the slope to touch noses with him in greeting. When she got closer, she saw that his eyes were as dull as his clanmates, and his fur was ungroomed. "Crowpaw!" she exclaimed. "Are you okay?" "I'm as fit as any of my clan," Crowpaw growled. Tornier blinked at her. "Crowpaw's been hunting like a whole patrol on his own, finding prey to feed nearly all the clan," he reported. Squirrelpaw pricked her ears. "He even caught a hawk 2 sunrises ago," Tornier went on. Even though starvation seemed to have robbed the Wind Clan warrior of all emotions, Squirrelpaw thought she detected a hint of pride in Tornier's voice. Crowpaw shrugged. I used the trick the tribe taught us." "Crowpaw!" Brambleclaw came bounding up the rock. Squirrelpaw saw his eyes darken, and she guessed he was as shocked as she had been to find their friend so gaunt and lifeless. Tallstar's voice distracted her. "Firestar, we have come to plead for ThunderClan's help," he rasped. As if the effort of speaking were too much, his legs buckled and he collapsed onto his side. Squirrelpaw started to go over to help him, but Brambleclaw held her back with a touch of his tail. "The 2 legs have started to destroy the warrens where we have been sheltering." "No!" Telstar panted. "We cannot stay a moment longer on the moor, but we are too weak to travel alone. I don't care that we haven't had another sign. I just know we have to leave. Take us to the sun-drowned place, I beg you." Firestar looked down at Tallstar, and Squirrelpaw saw sorrow flash in his eyes. We've been allies many times," he murmured. "To watch you starve is more than I can bear." He lifted his gaze and stared into the forest. And as he did so, the brambles under the trees rustled, and a pale bacon-colored shape exploded from the bushes. Tawny Pelt! The ShadowClan cat's pelt bristled, and her eyes were wild with fear. "The 2 legs are attacking our camp!" she yowled, her voice echoing over a rock. "They have surrounded us with their monsters. Please come!" Firestar bounded down the slope ahead of the others. Even Tallstar hauled himself to his paws and hurried towards the ShadowClan warrior. "Please help us!" Tawnypelt cried to Firestar. "Help us for the sake of ThunderClan's blood that runs in my veins, if nothing else." Firestar brushed the tip of his tail across her mouth. "We will come for the sake of ShadowClan," he told her gently, "and for the sake of all the clans in the forest." He looked at his warriors. "Thornclaw, Mousefur, Sandstorm, you will each lead a patrol. We will take all those strong enough to fight." Instantly, the 3 warriors began weaving among the cats, issuing orders. "What about defending the camp?" Dustpelt called. "Defend it from what?" Firestar replied. "The only creatures that threaten us now are already attacking ShadowClan." "What about RiverClan?" Leafpaw's quiet mew sounded from higher up the slope. She fell silent as the ThunderClan warriors turned to stare at her. Squirrelpaw's heart lurched. Her sister was right. With the camp undefended, Hawkfrost might pursue RiverClan to claim Sunning Rocks for themselves. But the warriors clearly misunderstood Leafpaw's warning. "RiverClan wouldn't help us," Mousefur spat. "They might," Cinderpelt argued. "The river's drying up. RiverClan are not as well fed as they used to be." Squirrelpaw glanced at Brambleclaw. If they weren't the only ones to have noticed the river. If RiverClan were suffering, they were more likely to help ThunderClan than attack them. But her nagging suspicion of Hawkfrost remained. Firestar's eyes lit up with hope. "Brambleclaw," he called, "go to RiverClan and ask Leopardstar for help." "Yes, Firestar." "Find Mistyfoot first," Squirrelpaw whispered, "and make sure Hawkfrost comes too. He shouldn't be left behind at camp." Brambleclaw narrowed his eyes. "You think you would attack here? It's better to be safe." Brambleclaw snorted. "You're too suspicious," he growled, and pelted away. Squirrelpaw felt a prickle of guilt. She hoped Brambleclaw didn't think her suspicions included him. "Squirrelpaw, you'll join my patrol." Sandstorm ordered. Stay near me or Dustpelt. Squirrelpaw nodded. Her paws tingled with excitement. It was time to fight back, or time to accept that the forest had been lost and leave. Even the WindClan warriors seemed to have brightened at the prospect of a battle. One Whisker thrashed his tail in agitation, while Tornir paced back and forth in front of him. We will come with you, Tallstar announced, his croaking voice finding new strength. Firestar shook his head. You are not strong enough. Tallstar fixed Firestar with a stern gaze. My warriors and I are coming. Firestar dipped his head. Very well, he mewed respectfully. He surveyed his clan. Mousefur, Sandstorm, Thornclaw, are your patrols ready? The three warriors nodded. This may be our last battle in the forest, Firestar went on, his voice barely louder than a growl. We won't be able to stop the Two Legs completely, but we can try and save ShadowClan. He looked at Leafpaw. We'll need you with us to look after any wounded cats. Cinderpelt will stay behind and take care of the cats here. Squirrelpaw knew that the medicine cat's old injury meant she would be more valuable to the clan here at Sunning Rocks, ready to tend to any cat who returned from the battle injured. She felt a flash of protectiveness towards her sister, then reminded herself that medicine cats learn fighting skills as well as any other warrior. As Firestar led his clan down the slope, Squirrelpaw heard One Whisker whispering to his leader. Tallstar, you are on your last life, he was mewing urgently. Please stay here. Whether I'm on my first life or my 9th, my duty is to the forest, Tallstar replied calmly. I will not miss this battle. Squirrelpaw saw icy determination in the old cat's eyes and felt glad for the sake of his dignity when One Whisker just nodded and walked beside him down the slope with the other cats. Firestar paused for a moment at the edge of the trees to check all the patrols were ready before charging into the forest. Squirrelpaw pelted after him with Tawnypelt beside her, their paws thrumming on the hard ground. She glanced back. No cat had fallen behind. Even Tallstar was keeping pace. They followed the river until they were safely past the two-legged clearing nearest the ravine, then swerved around to reach the crest of the slope that led down to 4 trees. Firestar didn't hesitate, but led them straight over the top of the rise. In the hollow, the slaughtered trees had been neatly stacked in piles. With a sickening jolt, Squirrelpaw saw the great rock been utterly crushed, reduced to nothing more than a massive pile of cracking stone. Crowpaw weaved through the running cats and fell in step beside her. Don't look at it, he warned. Even if the great rock were still here, it wouldn't help ShadowClan. Suddenly, a yowl rang from behind them, and Firestar swerved to a halt. The cats behind him stopped and spun around. Mistyfoot, the River Clan deputy, stood at the top of the slope. She had her clan's finest warriors beside her, Stormfur, Blackclaw, and Mothwing, and beside them the imposing shape of Hawkfrost. Next to him stood Brambleclaw. The outline of his head and shoulders matched with Hawkfrost's against the pale sky. Wait! Mistyfoot called down. River Clan will join you. Brambleclaw raced over to Squirrelpaw. How did you persuade Leopardstar to let them come? She gasped. It wasn't hard, Brambleclaw told her. They're hungry and growing desperate. Stormfur pushed his way through the restless cats to join them. We'll be fighting together. As it should be, Crowpaw growled from behind them. Looking around, Squirrelpaw realized that all the cats that had returned from the Sundrown Pace were beside her. Brambleclaw, Squirrelfur, Stormfur, Crowpaw, and Tawnypelt. She glanced up at the sky. Feathertail, are you watching us? She closed her eyes for a moment, hoping that they hadn't left their friend behind forever with the tribe of rushing water. Come on! Firestar called. With a fierce battle cry, he led them toward ShadowClan territory. The Thunderpath had divided ThunderClan from ShadowClan for many moons. The Thunderpath that had divided ThunderClan from ShadowClan for many moons lay eerily silent. They stopped the other monsters from coming here just before they started destroying our part of the forest, Tawnypelt whispered to Squirrelpaw. At least it makes easier to cross, she added dryly. The hard surface felt icy under paw as Squirrelpaw raced over it and into the trees. She heard the distant roaring of monsters and smelled their acrid scent. Her paws trembled, but fury urged her on. Crowpaw raced alongside her, his eyes grimly focused on the path. Squirrelpaw was amazed that his bony, ragged body possessed such strength. She glimpsed at a two-legged monster through the trees. Its great yellow forepaws were lowered, its claws unsheathed as it tore through the undergrowth. Suddenly, a violent and unnatural sound filled the forest, and Squirrelpaw scrambled to a standstill. All around, the forest rang with a dreadful creaking and groaning that seemed to split the air. Flattening her body against the trembling forest floor, she saw a two-legged monster only a tail length away. With massive paws, it ripped an oak from the ground, dragging its roots from the earth as if it were a blade of grass. The tree branches crashed like hail as the monster tipped it over and began to strip the trunk, showering the cats with chips of bark. Something growled behind them, and Squirrelpaw whirled around to find their escape blocked as another monster rolled steadily towards them. "They're nearly at our camp," Tawnypelt yowled. With a sickening feeling of dread, Squirrelpaw saw more monsters ahead, churning their way towards the tangle of brambles that hid the ShadowClan camp. "We'll have to go that way," Firestar called, gesturing with his tail towards a gap in the trees that the monsters had not yet reached. "No!" spat Crowpaw. "It'll be quicker this way." He darted forward, headed straight for the camp. "Stop! You'll be killed!" Squirrelpaw leaped into Crowpaw's back and dragged him to the ground, digging in her claws. He collapsed beneath her, hissing with fury. "Get off me!" Brambleclaw raced over to them. "Don't be such a fool, Crowpaw!" "He's gone mad!" Squirrelpaw shrieked. "I'm not going to let him kill himself." "I'm not frightened of joining StarClan," Crowpaw spat back. "The forest is dying anyway. At least in StarClan, Feathertail will be waiting for me." Yo, Crowpaw. We're going to do one more chapter, okay? We're at 199. Not okay. Me neither. Poor Crowpaw. Jeez Louise. We're at 199, but I want to do one more chapter because I feel like this chapter will kind of like finish, like set a stage for like, you know, like a good pause. And also we do have like 150 pages to go next stream, so the more the merrier. Also, I'm still waiting for my cake, so you know how it is. They're on your way. Where are they? I have to check. Not here yet. Chapter 14. Brambleclaw leaned down and snarled into Crowpaw's face. "You would rather join a dead warrior than fight to save the live ones?" Squirrelpaw felt the fight drain from Crowpaw's body, but Brambleclaw went on. "Your clan needs you now more than ever. Use your head and follow Firestar's orders. Squirrelpaw, you can take your claws off him now." Gingerly, she let go, half expecting Crowpaw to dart off into the trees again, but the WindClan apprentice only stood up and shook himself. Behind them, the elm-killing monster attacked its victim. Thorn-sharp splinters of wood shot through the air, and Squirrelpaw felt shearing pain as a tiny sliver of bark stabbed into her flank. "Now!" yowled Firestar. The cats leapt forward just as the monsters tore a branch from the elm, sending it crashing onto the forest floor where the cats had stood a heartbeat before. Firestar stopped when they reached the bramble thicket. "Sandstorm, take Leafpaw and the rest of your patrol and get the kits and queens out," he ordered. "Mousefur, take Tornier and Crowpaw with your patrol and find the elders." Squirrelpaw turned to follow her mother, but Firestar called her back. "Squirrelpaw, I need you here," he commanded. "Thornclaw, you help the apprentices get out. RiverClan warriors, go with him, please." Mistyfoot nodded and darted off with the ThunderClan cat. "Dustpelt, wait at the entrance and make sure everyone escapes. Don't let any cat block the way." "What about me?" One Whisker demanded as the others charged away. "I'll get to you soon," Firestar promised. He turned to Tawnypelt, who was tearing at the ground with her long, hooked claws. "You know this part of the forest better than us. We can't get back the way we came. Which way's the quickest way out of here?" "That way," Tawnypelt answered at once, nodding to a break in the trees. "If we're quick, we'll get to it before the monsters and pick up a trail that will take us to the tunnel under the Thunder Path." Firestar turned back to One Whisker and Tallstar. "You two must defend our escape route," he meowed. It was the least dangerous of all the tasks, and Squirrelpaw guessed that her father was trying to preserve the WindClan leader's last life. Firestar looked at Brambleclaw and Squirrelpaw. "You two, let Tawnypelt take you into the camp. She'll know which den is which. Make sure that no cat remains inside the camp. If you hear me yowl, get out at once. It'll mean the monsters have reached the brambles. Brambleclaw pressed his muzzle into Squirrel Paw's ear. Are you okay with this? Of course I am. What do you take me for, a kid who's left the nursery? Squirrel Paw jerked indignantly away. He blinked at her, his eyes glittering with concern, and she realized with a jolt that he was worried about her. I'm fine, she promised. It feels like a battle, and I need to fight for the forest, even if we can't win. We can't let Tawny Pelt down. She whirled around and raced for the camp entrance. Tawny Pelt was already scrambling through the prickly tunnel that led into the camp. The Squirrel Paw pounded after her into the clearing. The stench of terror nearly stopped her dead in her tracks. Pelts flashed everywhere as ShadowClan cats bolted in blind panic. Terrified yowls tore through the air as queens called for their kits and warriors shrieked orders. Amid the chaos, the newly arrived warriors were somehow managing to stay calm. Squirrelpaw spotted Sorreltail and Tornir flanking in groups of confused ShadowClan elders to herd them across the clearing on the far side. Leafpaw urged Running Nose, the old ShadowClan medicine cat, towards the camp entrance. Blackstar's white coat stood out among the shadows. A gray apprentice crouched beside him, his fur standing on end. Don't be afraid, the ShadowClan leader growled, nudging the apprentice into his paws. I won't let you die. He began to push the petrified apprentice towards the tunnel. Suddenly, a kit squealed from the far side of the clearing. Blackstar turned to look, and Squirrelpaw followed his gaze. The tiny scrap of dark brown fur had flattened itself on the ground and shrewd its eyes shut tightly. Blackstar glared at Squirrelpaw. Don't just stand there! Get Smokepaw out while I get that kit! He shoved the apprentice towards her and headed for the kit. Smokepaw stared at her, too stunned to speak or move. There was no time for formal introductions. Squirrelpaw grasped the scruff of his neck in her teeth and started to haul him across the ground. She pushed him into the tunnel and scanned the clearing. Blackstar had grabbed the kit and was pelting towards her. Squirrelpaw darted out of the way just in time to let the ShadowClan leader hurl past. She rushed over to the nursery thicket and thrust her head into the nest. Peering into the shadows, she scented the air and listened for mewling above the roaring of the monsters. The nest was empty. Is everyone out? Mothwing stood beside her, pelt bristling. The Squirrelpaw nodded. She heard Hawkfrost call to one of his clanmates. We've done enough! Get out now, before the camp is destroyed! We'll stay until every cat is out, Mistyfoot countered instantly, her sharp yowl making Hawkfrost freeze in surprise. Stop acting like you're in charge! Mothwing hissed angrily at her brother. Maybe not now, Hawkfrost spat back, but one day. Squirrelpaw felt a shiver chill through her fur, but there was no time to think about it. A tortoiseshell ShadowClan queen was struggling to carry her two kits across the clearing. She kept dropping one and dashing back to fetch the other. Squirrelpaw raced over. I'll take this one, she breathed, picking up the tiny bundle in her teeth. The queen flashed her a grateful look, and together they made for the entrance. Dustpelt was waiting outside. Squirrelpaw thrust the kit at him and ran back down to the tunnel. The camp was emptying quickly, and the roar of the monsters was deafeningly close. Make sure that no cat remains inside the camp. Firestar's orders rang in her ears. She scorned the shadows of the camp wall for cats, terrified that any moment a monster would crash through, but only Brambleclaw, Tawnypelt, and Mothwing were left in the clearing. Mothwing, get outside and help Leafpaw check for injuries. Brambleclaw hissed. We'll search the camp for stragglers. Mothwing headed for the tunnel. Hurry! She called over her shoulder. Trees were tipping and falling all around the camp, their leafless branches rattling together like dried bones. But Squirrelpaw had not heard her father's signal yet, so she had to assume that it was safe to stay. Is everyone out? Brambleclaw demanded. We need to check the dens again to make sure, Tawnypelt panted. I've checked the nursery, Squirrelpaw meowed. It's empty. Did Tall Puppy and her kits get out? I helped the queen and her kits to the tunnel, Squirrelpaw told her. Brambleclaw flicked his tail. I'll check the warriors' den. He glanced at Tawnypelt. You check the apprentices. What about the medicine clearing? Squirrelpaw called to Tawnypelt. Little Cloud's already gone. But are there any sick cats there? Squirrelpaw demanded. Tawnypelt blinked. I don't know, she admitted. I'll check, Squirrelpaw promised. Where's the entrance? Over there. Tawnypelt pointed with a flick of her tail to a tangle of thorns beside the warriors' den. Squirrelpaw squeezed her way through the narrow tunnel. It opened into a large den, sheltered from camp in the forest by a thick covering of hawthorn branches. The den was empty, and she was about to push her way back when she heard her father's yowl. "Get out! The monsters have reached the camp!" She began to struggle through the tunnel, but the brambles clung to her pelt. She thrashed wildly and felt the thorns dig deeper. A tree groaned overhead, its timber cracking as it began to fall. With a deafening crash, it smashed into the ground so close to the camp wall that Squirrelpaw felt the ground shudder. Wild with fear, she withered harder, trying to pull herself free. "Brambleclaw!" she shrieked. "Help!" She expected a tree to crash down on top of her at any moment. Would she be killed trying to help ShadowClan with no chance to see their new home? Suddenly, Squirrelpaw felt strong, sick teeth sink into the scruff of her neck and haul her forward. The thorns raked her flank like a claw, but she did not care. She leaped to her paws. Brambleclaw was staring at her, his sides heaving. "Thank you," she breathed. Oh. She pressed her muzzle against his, but they weren't safe yet. Another tree groaned overhead, and Squirrelpaw looked up to see a shadow loom slowly over camp. A huge sycamore was tipping towards them, its branches spreading across the sky as it began to topple. "Where's Tawny Pelt?" she cried. "I told her to go," Brambleclaw meowed. "Everyone has left but us. Let's get out of here." The two cats pelted towards the camp entrance and shot through, almost crashing into Dustpelt, who was waiting outside. "You're the last ones! Come on!" Looking over her shoulder, Squirrelpaw saw the sycamore crash down onto camp, crushing everything beneath its heavy branches. Another of the clan's camps had been destroyed. The home that ShadowClan had lived in for uncountable moons was gone. Dustpelt led them away through the forest. Tallstar and One Whisker were waiting on the path, staring with wide, horrified eyes as the forest fell around them. Firestar, Leafpaw, and Tawnypelt were with them. "Hurry!" One Whisker urged. "The others are already heading for the Thunder Path." "I thought you hadn't heard my warning," Firestar gasped. "I got stuck," Squirrelpaw exclaimed breathlessly. "Where's Crowpaw?" Brambleclaw asked, looking around. "Headed for the tunnel." Firestar flinched as another oak smashed into the ground nearby. "Did all the Quiggins and Kits get out?" Tawnypelt demanded. "Blackstar had a kit," One Whisker answered, "and there was a tortoiseshell with 2 kits." "What about Tall Poppy?" "I thought Tall Poppy was the tortoiseshell," Squirrelpaw gasped. "Tall Poppy's a tabby." Tawnypelt's voice rose in panic. "She's got 3 kits, not 2." The cats gazed at one another in dismay. "I thought everyone was out," spat Dustpelt. "The camp was definitely empty," Squirrelpaw panted. "They must have run off into the forest." Squirrelpaw pricked her ears, listening for the mewling of kits. "Over there!" One Whisker cried. He pointed with his nose to a clearing surrounded by fragile, pale-barked saplings. They raced over, Squirrelpaw scrambling to get a grip on the slippery leaves. "Hurry! Wait, hurry!" Tallstar hissed behind her. She felt Brambleclaw nudging her flank. As she struggled to find her footing, a crack sounded above them and a tree smashed down onto the forest floor only tail lengths ahead, separating them from the others. Squirrelpaw gasped and shut her eyes. "Are you okay?" Brambleclaw demanded. Blinking, she opened her eyes and saw the tree lying in front of them. Had Leafpaw and the others escaped? She darted forward, away from Tallstar, and scrambled onto the newly fallen trunk with Brambleclaw beside her. "They're okay," she yowled in relief. Tawnypelt and Leafpaw were standing in the clearing with Tall Poppy, One Whisker. One Whisker was trying to round up her 3 kits, who were darting about in terror, their little tails stuck straight out behind them. Firestar was on the edge of the clearing, scanning the forest for the best escape route. Looking down, Squirrelpaw saw Tallstar squeezing through the branches of the fallen tree and limping quickly to join the ThunderClan leader. Through the trees, Squirrelpaw could see the monsters on all sides, munching steadily closer. Suddenly, she heard a terrifying, familiar creaking sound. "Look out!" She screeched. "Save the kits!" Squirrelpaw yowled to Firestar as the tree cast a shadow across his orange pelt. Tall Poppy heard her and grabbed a kit. Tawnypelt picked up another, and, with Leafpaw and Tallstar fast behind, they pelted out of the way. But One Whisker was still diving for the final kit, and Squirrelpaw stared in horror as the tree hurled towards him. Her heart seemed to stop as the moment stretched into a lifetime. Firestar leaped forward and hurled himself against One Whisker's flank. Squirrelpaw just had time to see the WindClan warrior flung clear, the kit grasped safely between his jaws, before the tree hit the ground with a deafening crash. Firestar! No! Squirrelpaw bounded down from the trunk and pelted over to the fallen tree. Brambleclaw kept pace with her, swerving away towards the brown tabby shape staggering at the edge of the branches. Got you! He cried as he dragged the WindClan warrior and the kit out from where they were tangled in the branch tips. Leafpaw stumbled, dazed, from underneath a buckled sapling that had protected her when the tree fell. But there was no sign of Firestar. A Tulik howled, and another splintering groan made the air tremble. Get out of here! Brambleclaw screeched. I'm not leaving without Firestar! Squirrelpaw cried. We'll find him! Brambleclaw promised. He looked at One Whisker. Get the others to the Thunder Path! The earth shuddered as another tree crashed down behind them. We'll wait for you at the tunnel, One Whisker promised. As the WindClan and ShadowClan cats fled, Squirrelpaw ran over to where Leafpaw was scrambling beneath the branches. I can see him, she cried, clawing desperately at the earth. Brambleclaw pushed past her, using his head to thrust aside the tangled splinters of wood. Squirrelpaw could see her father's orange pelt slumped beneath a heavy branch. Brambleclaw stretched forward and grasped Firestar in his jaws, trembling with effort. He dragged him out and laid him on the leaf-strewn earth. A shaft of pale sunlight sliced into the clearing and lit up the ThunderClan leader's golden pelt. He lay very still, with his eyes closed. He's losing a life, Leafpaw whispered. Firestar. Squirrelpaw's tail began to tremble. Father! She yowled. Around them, monsters shook the ground, their yellow eyes blazing between the trees. We've got to get him out of here, Brambleclaw hissed. We can't risk moving him, Leafpaw warned. Squirrelpaw pressed her belly against the earth. I'm not leaving without him. An ear-splitting crack exploded above them, and she screwed up her eyes as the forest suddenly went dark. Images flashed through her mind. Sandstorm, the old camp, the tribe of rushing water, Feathertail. StarClan, don't let me die yet. After everything we've been through, I need to know the clan survives. Squirrelpaw! Brambleclaw's call sounded muffled under the fallen branches that covered them. Where are you? Squirrelpaw opened her eyes and took a long, shaky breath. The fallen tree was lodged on the trunk of the other, forming a tiny cavern. Brambleclaw's dark brown pelt was just visible through the twigs. She twitched her tail and flexed her paws one after the other. I'm okay, she called. Nothing was broken, but her pelt stung where branches had scraped against it. Brambleclaw, are you hurt? With a grunt, she held herself towards him and stretched out her head to lick his flank. It's all right. I'm fine, Brambleclaw muttered, struggling to sit up. Can you see your sister anywhere? Squirrelpaw strained her eyes in the gloom. Leafpaw? I'm over here, came a voice. Squirrelpaw could make out her shape now. She was crouching over Firestar, protecting his body with her own. Is it safe? When Squirrelpaw heard her father's raspy mew, she wiggled upright, ducking her head under the branches until she could straighten her legs. She felt the blood pulsing through her paws, cold as ice. She forced her way through the twigs until her father's breath wafted against her cheek. His eyes were glazed but open. Did you speak with StarClan? Leafpaw whispered to him. I could hardly see them. Firestar croaked, but I know they were there. He lifted his head. Did One Whisker rescue the kid? Yes, they're both safe. Brambleclaw squeezed through the branches to Squirrelpaw's side. Squirrelpaw searched Leafpaw's gaze. Will Firestar be okay? He'll be fine, Leafpaw replied. She pressed her nose against Squirrelpaw's cheek. Don't be scared. This was meant to happen. Squirrelpaw felt her heart beating in her throat. How can we get him out of here? I can walk, Firestar mewed, hauling himself unsteadily to his paws. Suddenly, a Tulik howled above them. It sounded so close that Squirrelpaw spun around with a snarl. She looked up. A shadow loomed over the branches that covered them. We must go now, Brambleclaw hissed. The Tulik was peering down through the tangle of twigs. Leafpaw flattened her belly against the ground, her eyes stretched wide in terror. I won't let them catch you again, Squirrelpaw promised. She glanced at Brambleclaw. Can you get them out if I distract the two legs? Brambleclaw blinked. I'm not sure if that's safe, he began. I'll be okay, Squirrelpaw insisted. Come on, we don't have much time. Without warning, she struggled up from the branches. She could see the two legs' hind legs in front of her. Giving a loud screech of fury, she shot between them, raking the two legs' pelt with her claws as she rushed past. She heard it howl and glanced back to see it lumbering after her, away from her clanmates. Squirrelpaw pelted over the splintered, strewn forest floor. Ahead, a monster lifted its claws into the air to bring it down to another tree. Squirrelpaw dodged into a swath of brambles and looked back for her clanmates. StarClan, help them! Then she glimpsed her father's orange pelt weave through the branches of the fallen tree, headed for the far side of the clearing. Brambleclaw ran beside him, and Leafpaw's brown tabby fur flashed behind him. As they reached the open ground where they could be seen more easily, Squirrelpaw tipped back her head and yowled. She heard the two-leg run over and start kicking at the brambles, trying to flush her out. Squirrelpaw crawled backwards, ducking her head, and yowled again. She had to keep the two legs focused on her while the others escaped. Thank you, Pride! Peering out towards the thorns, she saw Brambleclaw glance in her direction, but he kept going until they reached the safety of the standing trees. Squirrelpaw straightened up with relief. Wriggling around, she forced her way through the brambles and skirted the edge of the clearing until she reached the path that led to the tunnel. Firestar, Brambleclaw, and Leafpaw were hurrying towards her. You made it! Leafpaw gasped. Keep going! Brambleclaw hissed. Squirrelpaw fell in beside them. Firestar staggered, his paws stumbling on the packed earth. Don't stop now, she urged, pressing him. Brambleclaw flanked his other side, and between them, they kept their leader on his paws as they hurried to the safety of the tunnel that led to ThunderClan territory. They had escaped the two legs this time, but how much longer would it be before the whole forest was lost forever? Done! Yeah! I was right. It was important to finish that chapter. Jeez Louise! Thank God I could read fairly okay for that part. So much happened! Holy kabooly moly. I actually don't remember this part. So it's very exciting. It's very exciting to be reminded about what happened. Wow, I'm live. All right. Alrighty. Where's my Uber Eats? Gosh, next week we have to finish it. We have to finish it because I don't know when I'm gonna be able to keep reading. It'll be a long stream next Warrior Cat Wednesday, that's for sure. Night, Ven. Thank you for sticking around so long to listen. I hope you enjoyed. Sleep well. Where are you? I want to see where my food is. Oh, he's right around the corner. Wow, perfect. All right, guys, we're gonna end it now. Do a little raid. And... oh, dang it. What the heck is wrong with my stream deck? How do you raid again? Do we have to do it? Will that work? Nope. There we go. Alright, you guys are going to done. I'll see you guys Friday for not Outer Wilds, but still Outer, or we're gonna do Cats and Other Lives next week. I mean, next Friday. I mean, this Friday. I mean, yeah, you know how it is. Oh, what's my raid? I don't think very many of you are active right now, but you know what? I want to copy it. Also, thank you for the biddies, Pride. My crepes are here! Yahoo! Alright, guys, I'm gonna switch to the pretty ending screen. Which I don't think there's not too much, but I mean, you know how it is. Look at it! It's so cute! I love this song. It really gives that old nostalgic anime ending vibe. You know what I mean? I think it might end too fast. I mean, you guys might get sent too fast. All right, bye guys. I love you. Make sure you have a fun night. Sleep well. Be well. Have a good day. Put on sunscreen. Brush your teeth. I love you. Moderation is the key.